All right. Ready? Yes, perfect. Welcome everyone to the May 2nd, 2023 Zoning Committee Work Session of the City of Charlotte, Charlotte Planning, Design and Development. I am Phil Gussman, the Chair of the Zoning Committee. This meeting is being streamed online on YouTube. In accordance with the meeting statute, requirements for notice, access, and minutes are being met through electronic means. We ask that everyone keep mics muted when not speaking, and please state your name when making a motion or a second. I would also point out, due to some complaints on the recording, that we also all make sure we're on mic when we're speaking. Explanation of the zoning process. The public hearing on the rezoning cases that we are reviewing today have been held by the City Council and Zoning Committee. This meeting is not a continuation of the public hearing, so there will be no public input unless the committee has specific questions. And now start with introductions. I will first move to my right.
From the other left, this is Douglas Welton.
Terry Lansdale, Planning Commission.
Melissa Gaston.
Will Russell.
And staff. Dave, do you want to kick that off?
Sure, Dave Pettin, Rezoning Manager.
Alan Goodwin, planning staff.
Kevin May, planning staff.
John Kinley, planning staff.
Michael Russell, planning staff.
Max Oliver, planning staff. Joe Mangum, planning staff.
Holly Kramer, planning staff.
Raquel Dominguez, planning staff.
Anna Aliati, planning staff.
Emma Canarajas, planning staff.
And staff that's, oh wait, there's one.
Laura Harmon, planning staff.
Joe Hack, County Solid Waste staff.
And staff that's online. If you could unmute and pop in.
Governor CDOT.
Isaiah Washington, CDOT.
Travis Miller, CDOT.
Ritter, CDOT.
Patrick Monroe, CDOT.
We have anyone else online? I don't see anyone, but. Nope.
Yeah, Aaron Stanforth, Mecklenburg County. Hiya.
Ah, there we go. Emma, do you see anyone else? Just resolving some. Okay. That's introductions and we're done with that. I can now usually check with Dave on are there any additional deferrals?
Just what we have listed on the agenda. So item 2, 2021-213 by Goldberg Companies, Inc. Item 3, 2022-099 by Levine Properties. Item 4, 2022-109 Urban Trends Real Estate. Item 5, 2021-209 by Coastal Acquisition Entities, all requesting a deferral to our next meeting in May. It's currently scheduled for May 30th. We do have an agenda item to work through just to adjust some dates for our calendar to Wednesday, May 31st and Wednesday, September 6th, but we can handle that through a separate action after this. But those are the only deferrals we have this evening.
And anyone interested in making a motion on those deferrals?
This is Commissioner Welton. I will make a motion that we accept the deferrals as stated by Dave.
Lansdale.
Properly moved by Welton, seconded by Lansdale. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And those are deferred. As Dave teased, next up, I would like to address item number 1, adjusting, the zoning committee work session meeting schedule for May and September meeting dates as presented, which is Wednesday, moving it to Wednesday, May 31st, 2023, and Wednesday, September 6th, 2023.
Yeah, just the May 31st, the Monday's the holiday. And with September 6th, Tuesday is the day after the holiday, but City Council will have their meeting on September 5th. So don't want to conflict with that. So we suggested moving it to September 6th. So just wanted to clarify that September one.
Perfect. Thank you. Anyone care to make a motion regarding item number 1?
Commissioner Welton, I'll make a motion that we accept the dates for changes of our meetings as stated by Dave.
Lansdale, second.
Properly moved by Welton, seconded by Lansdale. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. That passes as well. Right. Just item number one out of the box.
Yeah, let me just give you one more quick bit of housekeeping. We had Raquel Dominguez introduce herself earlier when we went around the room. I just want to welcome Raquel. She's working as our new admin within the entitlements division. So she'll be helping us out with our zoning committee meetings and all of our other meetings, same as Donna and Carla before. So just wanted to welcome Raquel and introduce you guys all to Ms. Dominguez. Thank you.
I'll welcome you on the record as well as previously, Raquel. Thank you for joining us. Excellent. And I'll go ahead and ask our newly arrived commissioners to introduce themselves.
Courtney Rhodes, Zoning Committee.
And we are at full strength then, moving into item number 6, rezoning petition 2023-056 by Charlotte Planning Design and Development, a text amendment. We know those guys.
Yes, thank you,
Is that you, Alan?
Chair. Yeah, I'm going to be going through the 3 text amendments that we've got with you tonight, starting with 2023-56, which is a text amendment on land clearing and inert debris or LCID landfills. They are a facility for land disposal of inert debris, land clearing debris, yard waste, and untreated and unpainted wood. Things to note is that this is a use that is very rarely used, but has been of interest late in the community. There are concerns about environmental impacts and land use impacts. And this is a use that under our current ordinance is allowed and prior to the text amendment would be allowed in all UDO zoning districts with prescribed conditions. So you could do this use anywhere in the city. Next slide. So what the text amendment proposes to do is to limit the limit LCID landfills to only the manufacturing and logistics ML2 district, which is our most industrial district, if you will. Add requirements that if you want to propose this use, it would require a conditional zoning so that the community would have the chance to have some input on it. And it modifies the prescribed conditions, strengthens the standards, operational conditions, requires a leachate collection system. It ensures compliance with state groundwater and surface water requirements and so forth. We have proposed a couple of changes since the public hearing version of the text amendment, and they're primarily Scrivener's errors that we're just fixing. So no substantive changes since the public hearing version of the text amendment. Staff recommends approval of this text amendment and finds it's consistent with the 2040 comprehensive plan. I don't know if I typically read all of this into the record or if you just can read it yourself, whichever you prefer.
I imagine on some of the others, this is much longer. I mean, this one's easy. I mean, if it was just this, I'd say, yeah, go ahead and read it. But I understand that some of these other text amendments might have, no? Are they about that long?
They're really all.
If you don't mind, yeah, go ahead and read it into the record and we're set.
Yeah, the staff rationale for recommendation. The text amendment directly addresses community concerns about the environmental and land use impacts of LCID landfills by limiting the areas where this use is allowed. And the text amendment enhances the required environmental protection standards for LCID landfills. Next slide.
Excellent.
And this is the consistency statement. Should you elect to approve.
Is there a consistency statement that we pulled up and, or, perfect. Any questions, comments for staff? Douglas.
Alan, just a quick one, and this is not just for information. What percentage of the currently mapped area of the city falls under that ML2?
The ML2?
Yeah. Do you have a clue on that?
I don't have that number. I'm looking to any of my colleagues who may know of that.
I'm assuming it's a small percentage.
It is anything that is currently zoned I2 will translate to ML2.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, that's not as small as I thought. Okay, all right. I mean, just, it was an informational question for me.
I'd point out that's why the conditional criteria was added as well.
Okay.
So,
We can get that number if that's important to you.
It's not ultimately long-term important, but I just, somebody's going to say how much land can this now occur on? And so.
Any other questions? So the motion process is just like our others. You all have. So I'm asking if anyone wants to make a motion.
I'll jump in here. This is Lansdale. The petition is found to be consistent with the 2040 comprehensive plan based on the information from staff analysis
I think you can still use this.
and the public hearing. I just was going by that. The petition could facilitate the 2040 comprehensive plan goal of an integrated natural and built environment. Therefore, we find the petition reasonable and in the public interest based on the information from staff analysis and the public hearing. And because the text amendment directly addresses community concerns about environmental land use impacts of LCID landfills by limiting the areas where this use is allowed, and the text amendment enhances the required environmental protection standards for the LCID landfills.
This is Gaston. I second that motion.
Probably moved by Lansdale, seconded by Gaston. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes 7-0.
The next text amendment is 2023-057. Use adjustments for the CG and CR zoning districts and centers place types. The issue is that parcels that are currently zoned B1 or B2 will translate on June 1st to the general commercial zoning district, the CG zoning district. Some of those translated districts will be in an activity center, either a neighborhood activity center, community activity center, or regional activity center. Ordinarily, the CG and the CR zoning would allow auto-oriented uses. Those districts do not allow multifamily, and the zoning allowances don't support the goals of our center's place types. So that's the issues, or those are the issues that this text amendment will try to address. So what this amendment will do is if there is a CG or CR zoning district in a center place type, it would require that accessory drive-throughs have a conditional rezoning. So an accessory drive-through, if you look at the two examples on the right in the shaded area, we have two different drive-throughs. One is an accessory use. The first one is an accessory drive-through. That is the typical restaurant or bank drive-through that we're all familiar with. It's an accessory to the principal use, which is either a restaurant or a bank or something like that. The second type of drive-through is the lower example on the right, a drive-through establishment, which is a primary use. And that's the kind of drive-through establishment where all business is conducted via drive-through lanes, and there is no inside option for going in and sitting down at a table or something like that. So what the text amendment would do is it would require a conditional rezoning for an accessory drive-through if you're zoned CG or CR in a center's place type. It would permit multifamily, which typically would not be permitted in CR or CG, but if you're in a center's place type, it would permit multifamily because that is something that we want to see in our centers, multifamily residential. And it would disallow that drive-through establishment primary use, which ordinarily would be allowed in a CG or a CR zoning district. Next slide. Again, we've made a couple of minor corrections to the text amendment since the public hearing, which you can see on the screen. just cleaning up some language, some grammar and so forth. Next slide. So the staff recommends approval of this petition as being consistent with the 2040 comprehensive plan. The rationale is that some centers place types have parcels with zoning that will translate to the CG general commercial zoning district when the UDO goes into effect on June 1st. The goals of the center's place types include a desirable pedestrian environment and a mix of uses. The text amendment will align the uses permitted in commercial zoning districts when located in a center's place type with the center's place type goal of supporting a mixed-use pedestrian-friendly environment.
Excellent.
The consistency statement.
All right. Committee, questions? Russell?
Yes, this one is of particular interest to me, especially when we're talking about the change to accessory drive-through uses. So if you look at the use matrix on the 4 TOD zoning classifications that we have, the accessory drive-through is allowed in all of them. And 3 of those, I'm curious as to why that would be allowed. So UC, which would be Uptown, CC, which would be convention center. And then the one that's right before transitional uses would allow for drive-throughs. And I just want to understand why would we want to have an option for drive-through at all in a TOD district when we're trying to build density and encourage ridership on either bus or light rail? Why would that be allowed by right as opposed to a prescribed condition or even not allowed at all?
So, yeah, the accessory drive-through would be allowed.
Mike.
Thank you. Yes, the accessory drive-through would be allowed as an accessory use in those centers, not just the TOD districts, but our other activity center zoning districts as well with prescribed conditions. Off the top of my head, I don't know what those prescribed conditions are.
One of the main prescribed conditions is that to allow it in that TOD district, it has to have been on the site as of June 1st of 2023. So it doesn't allow new ones. It just allows redevelopment. If you have a drive-through already in a TOD district as of June 1, you can redevelop with prescribed conditions, but you can't put a new drive-through in those TOD districts.
So that's what number 1 is. That's what number 1 is referring to.
For new, if a new accessory drive-through is proposed in the center in a commercial zoning district, it would require a conditional zoning. What you're referring to and what Dave just read is that one of the prescribed conditions for having that accessory use in a center zoning district is that if there is one there already, if there's an existing one, it would allow it to remain, but would not permit a new accessory drive-through in those TOD districts or in a center zoning district.
Without a conditional rezone.
I don't think it would even allow it with a conditional rezoning.
Okay, and the reason why I'm just a little bit confused on that because we bifurcated what a drive-through is. So we've got a drive-through establishment, which we understand is the little coffee shop down there. You don't have an inside to go into.
Right.
So the accessory drive-through, like the Chick-fil-A up there, we're saying that if you don't have it in it, if you don't have like a Chick-fil-A, and I'm just using that because the picture's up there. If you don't have a Chick-fil-A or Burger King that's in a TOD, CG, or CR zoning type, you can't build a new one.
We're not talking about TOD districts with this text. We're only talking about commercial districts, either the CG, which is a general commercial, or the CR, a regional commercial.
Okay.
We're not addressing TOD or any of the other center zoning districts. We're addressing commercial zoning districts in a center's place type.
Got you. Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Ms. Welton.
Just a ticky-tack on that. You said unless it already exists on the site, does it have to physically exist? Or if the rights have been there, but it was never developed, can you go forward?
I believe in your latter example, if you have an approved conditional plan that would allow an accessory drive-through, but that plan hasn't been fully
Hasn't been
implemented,
full-
but you
yeah,
still
yeah.
have that right, I believe, and I'm going to look at Laura to see, I believe it would be.
If you're rezoning, so this is in this is for TOD, which we're not changing, but
Yeah.
just for clarity. If you're rezoning in TO, if you're rezoning to TOD, you're getting rid of all those
Mhm.
conditional entitlements, then you're starting with what's in the book, assuming you go to conventional TOD, and that means that that drive-through would have to exist on the site.
Yeah,
today.
okay. I, just as kind of a preemptive, I see some abandoned shopping center out there that used to have a drive-through that they want to change, and that comes to us. So anyway, we'll figure it out when we get there, I'm sure. That's why they pay you guys the big bucks.
Right.
Just a quick follow-up.
Lansdale, go right ahead.
Since you had the Chick-fil-A, does this impact like the expansion of drive-throughs as well? So if there's an existing drive-through of a single lane, would we have to do a conditional rezoning to make it a double lane or? Okay, thank you.
See, this committee's just thinking a few steps ahead, I hope.
Yep.
All right, anyone like to make a motion on that?
I will. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2023-057 as it appears before us, and adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Rhodes, second.
Properly moved by Welton, seconded by Rhodes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 7-0, unanimous. And moving on to number 8, Alan.
Thank you. The final text amendment is 2023-058, and it's what we are calling a UDO cleanup text amendment. So as you can imagine, when the UDO was adopted last August, it was not a perfect document. It had some issues that needed to be addressed, and the types of issues are listed there in the bulleted list, and I'll go through them. We have the text amendment would update language to provide greater clarity. We've had some feedback from potential users of the UDO that they had a difficulty understanding what exactly was meant. And so if we could update language to clarify what our intent was, we've tried to do that. We've updated and added some new graphics and illustrations. We have adjusted the language so that we're in better consistency with Chapter 160D. We've also updated some terminology and definitions. We've corrected some references. We've adjusted some use permissions and prescribed conditions. We've made minor changes to standards and correction of Scrivener's errors. Those are the proposed changes that the text amendment would address. And the next 5 slides, I won't go through them because there are multiple items,
Document.
but you do have a handout of those, all of those particular changes that have been made to this text amendment since the public hearing. And you can look through those, and if you want to take some time and just kind of glance through, and then if you've got specific questions on any of them, I'd be glad to try to address them.
Certainly. Everyone, we were prepared a little bit, but also take a quick look at the document before us. And please don't question any capitalizing of a letter or anything. We're moving beyond that.
And these are the changes since 2 weeks ago.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
Ask your question at will while we're all. Anyway, not at will, but. I saw that we were still continuing to work on getting the driveway width language drilled down and right. I know we've been talking about that
We
for a
think we're
couple of
there.
years now.
We think
but-
we're there.
Okay, good. Could you clarify the parapet change or the? That very first item, on the building height, the illustration that reflects the parapet, reflects changes to parapet wall height language. I'm trying to recall what that language is. Did we have? Okay.
Thank you, Emma. Yes, I'm going to wait for Kevin to find that. We've updated the building height illustration to reflect the changes to the parapet wall height language found in the building height definition. So I am going to see if Kevin can help me with that while he's looking up. No pressure, Kevin.
No, it wasn't that. I appreciate that though.
Certainly. Any other questions from the committee?
Kevin May, planning staff. So under the definition of building height in Article 2, there's item 3 regarding parapet walls. That language was changed from 48 inches to 5 feet. In the text amendment, we had an incorrect illustration with that item. And so this note on the change matrix shows that we've replaced the graphic to reflect the new amended language.
I was trying to recall what had changed
Yeah.
in the code that caused us to need to change the graphic. And you're right, a foot.
Yeah.
I got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just a process question
Go
for
ahead.
staff. Just out of curiosity, do we expect to have another text amendment, cumulative text amendment in the coming weeks and months to reflect some of the other issues that may arise before June?
Yes, we expect to have text amendments in the future to make this document current and relevant and address any issues that come to light as we start to use it after it goes into effect. So we do anticipate text amendments on an ongoing basis as needed.
Sure. Thanks, Alan. I did have questions. I'm not going to raise them tonight. They're not issues for me, but under the Article 19, the surface parking issues, I think for me, I want to put a bug in your ear for public record. I think the definitions section also needs some clarification, especially as it relates to transit trails, rail trails, greenways, and sidewalks. I think it's very confusing, the interchangeability and the lack of clarification, but I don't see any issues with that associated with this text amendment in 2023-058 tonight. But look for that in the future.
Thank you. We are maintaining a list of issues that we may want to look at in future text amendments. Maybe if you would be able to email some of those concerns to us, we'll add those to our list. Thank you.
Excellent. I feel that was productive. Thank you. Anyone like to make a motion on this, on 2023-058?
Ms. Lansdell. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend the approval of petition number 2023-058 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement as appears before us.
Harvey, second.
Probably moved by Harvey, seconded by properly moved by Lansdale, seconded by Harvey. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes unanimous 7-0, and we continue to improve our UDO. Thank you. I think we have a little bit of a staff change coming up, but move on to item number 9, rezoning petition 2023-055 by Charlotte Fire Department. Joe.
Thank you. This is approximately 6.59 acres located on the east side of Dixie River Road near the intersection with Lynn Parker Lane. It's in the River District. The current zoning is mud optional. It's within the airport noise overlay as well as the Lower Lake Wiley critical area. Proposed zoning is a site plan amendment to that mud optional zoning, and the overlays would carry forward. 2040 policy map recommends community activity center for the site. There's no site plan, just conditional notes for the petition would allow for the modification of the minimum building setback to 50 feet and maximum building setback to no more than 100 feet from the future Dixie River Road back of curb. Eliminate the requirement for minimum ground floor activation. Modifies the ground floor transparency requirements to a minimum of 10%, 6% of which may be opaque glass. Proposes an optional provision to allow public parking between the building and street. All of the other development standards for the parcel would comply with the larger River District rezoning petition standards and all other applicable standards of the ordinance. Petition is consistent with the community activity center place type and staff recommends approval. Be happy to take any questions.
Excellent. Lansdale, kick us off.
Quick clarification, Joe, this is, I don't want to say a normal fire station, but it is not an expansive fire station. It's not a training facility. Is that correct? Or we don't know because we don't have the site plan.
Correct. Dave might have more information. It's, as far as I know, it's a fire station.
It's a- yeah.
What's proposed.
But it's not a
Yeah,
training
not a training
facility.
center, no, it's a fire station, serve the community.
Thank you. At the appropriate time, I'll make a motion.
Any other questions on this one? Terry, I think you make a motion.
Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend the approval of 2023-055 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
This is Gaston. I second that motion.
Probably moved by Lansdale, seconded by Gaston. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes unanimous 7-0 as well. Moving on to item number 10, rezoning petition 2022-037 by Suncap Property Group. Holly.
Thank you. This site's a little over a quarter acre located on the intersection of East Boulevard and Scott Avenue, west of Fountain View. You'd probably recognize the site. It's where the Starbucks is along East Boulevard. The majority of the site is actually sacrificed to surface parking at the moment. The current zoning is neighborhood services pedestrian overlay, and they are proposing to go to B1 pedestrian overlay. The purpose of this is because, as you'll see on this policy map and along this corridor generally, is all in the pedestrian overlay. So the conventionally zoned districts within that pedestrian overlay are all translating to neighborhood center on June 1. But because neighborhood services and this site in particular has an existing conditional plan, it will not automatically translate. By going to B1 means that it will now automatically translate to NC with the majority of the corridor. Staff recommends approval of this petition. It is consistent with that policy map recommendation for neighborhood centers, since it would automatically translate. And the rezoning of this site would allow for more unified development patterns all under one zoning district come June 1st. I'll take any questions.
We'll go Russell first and then Lanston.
Okay, quick question, Holly. So this rezoning was brought by a petitioner in an effort to be corrective and to correct the rezoning so that it translates with the rest of it in June 1st, if I'm understanding you correctly.
Yeah, so realistically, the intent, I don't know if you're aware of the previous conversation on this petition, but it was a much larger site initially. And this is one of the few pieces that would not be automatically translating. As they went further and further in the rezoning process with their conditional plans, they realized that the NC district would essentially address the development that they were looking to do. And so it's a lot easier to just rezone this one corner piece parcel so that they can develop all under one unified development pattern. So corrective in a sense, yeah.
Right. Thank you. That was my question.
I'll try to be kind. I'll try to answer ask some quick questions just to make sure I understand this. There were some comments on this one, but because it's just the small parcel, there's not going to be a need for a traffic impact study. Is that correct?
That's correct.
The second thing, and this is a more open-ended question, can you talk a little bit about the setback requirements for the NS-PED overlay for the change? So I'm wanting to make sure that as we look at Scott Boulevard, because I think at this point of Scott, there is the long-range DOT plans to increase that capacity for Scott and Kenilworth. I think it's on that section. So I want to make sure I understand that we're not building right up against the road as we were before. So sorry, I thought there was.
That's okay. So sorry, just to clarify, because you mentioned NS, are you looking for the NC setback requirements?
I'm just trying to, when it gets realigned, if we approve this petition, what are the requirements? Can they build right up to the existing sidewalk? Is there going to be, what kind of setback requirements are going to be for that corner?
Okay,
It's a critical corner.
Yep.
It comes from a time when East Boulevard was one of the most dangerous roads in Charlotte. 4-lane undivided, 48-foot curb and gutter. So that pedestrian overlay and process is an important part of how we've transitioned.
Yeah, understood. I'm looking up.
I was just trying to give you time.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. You can feel free to keep going, actually. I feel like I'm almost there.
Okay, maybe-
Obviously, we're still all familiarizing ourselves with this. So page 100 and no. Page 159 of the UDO, which is 10-3, has the setback requirements. It's a build to zone. So I don't want to speak to it right now and what that will look like, but generally I'll say the neighborhood center zoning district is intended for heavy pedestrian use. And so you're trying to create walkable corridors that would accommodate regular pedestrian access to and along this entire corridor, frankly. So my understanding is that it would generally accommodate development that would allow for better pedestrian access than currently exists.
Great. And one quick follow-up that it's not a question. I need to make a statement that the uncontrolled ingress and egress for the sites are a concern for me with this larger parcel that's potentially planned. So I want to make sure that that's kind of clarified, that that's a concern moving forward when we start looking at site plans associated with this. But thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
I know there was a lot of talk and concern from council about the heights of the buildings. Based on the current zoning, what's the max height allowed?
So NC allows up to 80, that's with bonus provisions. So you have to commit to community benefits for anything past 65 feet.
Okay. And if I remember correctly, that being a 5-story building, that's roughly, what's across the street is roughly the height at which the parcel could be developed based on the NS.
Are you measuring like from the corner, I guess, along?
Yeah, across the street.
Yeah.
Right.
They're somewhat comparable is my understanding, but there's a lot of grade elevation is the only reason why I was asking.
Yeah, so I just wanted to go on the record and say that it's not necessarily going to increase the height. It's going to be within character of what's directly adjacent to it. And so just wanted to put that on record.
And I would just agree with Commissioner Russell that the apartments that are fronting on, I think it says Fillmore here, but I thought it was Buchanan, whichever one of those streets back there is where the highest grade is.
Right.
And that's significantly higher than East Boulevard. So the height question kind of falls away for me at that point.
Any additional questions? I know that there was some addressing of parapet wall and all that at the public hearing, that there was a little bit of commenting that the parapet wall is going to be a little bit of clarity. It was pointed out to me a parapet wall is generally set back from the edge of the building. So it is adjacent to the,
Yeah.
because I thought the parapet wall was usually used to, basically obscure the view of the equipment that's placed there.
That and keep you from falling.
Keep you from falling off the building. Okay, I guess that works more with your description. I was just curious because I know some of the neighbors were pointing out that another 5 feet at the side is different than 5 feet, and we've got all the steps set back that we've looked at over the years and everything. There's no change on any of that the petitioner has offered, right?
Well, and I would also add, I mean, this is a conventional petition, so there's no site plan, so no.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you. Anyone care to make a motion?
Just to clarify on that, it's a difference in measurement. Like right now, we measure building height to include the parapet walls. The UDO would exclude them up to, I think, 5 feet. So that's what the difference is. So you have an 80-foot tall building that doesn't include the parapet wall that could, so that's a difference in height measurement between UDO and existing zoning.
And since this is going to develop under the UDO, most likely,
So that parapet wall would not necessarily be counted.
hence
towards
the neighbor
total height of
claiming
the
it's going to
building.
be
Right.
taller.
But that height will be screening for mechanical and to not fall off the roof.
Yep. And make sure you don't fall off. All these technical terms, yes.
One emotion, I'll make one.
All right.
This is Commissioner Walton, and I will make a motion. Having reviewed the petition and consider the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-037 as it appears before us and adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Lansdale, second.
Properly moved by Welton, seconded by Lansdale. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. That 6-1. And my minority, or not minority, my report would be concerned about the adjacent properties and the height. There's a little bit undefined here. While I have faith in our UDO, I think since they're pushing this through now, there are protections that we would have had under the old code that we've traded away and maybe not with as much benefit as we want. Is that good? Who am I looking at? You, Holly, thank you. Excellent. Moving on to item number 11, rezoning petition 2022-048 by Tribute Companies. Michael.
Thank you. This is approximately 182.71 acres located along, excuse me, the south side of the Interstate 485 South Interchange, east of John Adams. Road and north of North Tryon. It is currently zoned R3, single family residential. The proposed zoning is mixed use. The 2040 policy map recommends neighborhood 1 for this site. So this proposal allows up to 950 units in any combination of single family detached and or attached and or multifamily residential units. So the site consists of the following development areas. Development area P1 will be predominantly devoted to park outdoor recreation uses. Development area S1 shall be predominantly devoted to institutional, such as the elementary school. Then the other development areas, A1, A2, A21, A3, and so forth, will be predominantly devoted to residential uses. Then a few of the other development areas will contain lower density residential options such as single family detached and or attached units with no multifamily stacked apartment units. Multifamily stacked apartment units will be permitted in areas A1, A2, A3, and A4. It does provide a minimum 16-acre publicly accessible park and or recreation area, as sort of generally depicted on the rezoning plan in the development area P1. The minimum of 9 acres of this area shall be dedicated and conveyed to the Mecklenburg County for a future neighborhood park. They're providing a pedestrian-friendly focal point for neighborhood activity. So they propose various things such as temporary events as food trucks, pop-ups, seasonal neighborhood festivals, et cetera. They do provide architectural standards, including building materials. A TIS was required for this petition, and the transportation improvements include on-site and off-site improvements, including providing turn lanes with additional storage and tapered pavements, additional lanes, installation of traffic signs, coordinated signal timings, and reconfiguring some of the intersection. And staff analysis, it goes into a little bit more about sort of each intersection. Next slide. So we've had some changes since the public hearing. The single-family attached residential units may be replaced with live-work units in the area, as generally depicted on the rezoning plan. The live-work units will be integrated non-residential uses with the residential use, with the total amount of non-residential uses not to exceed 10,000 square feet. And the uses will be limited to those permitted in the B1 zoning district. And the application of the live-work units will not increase the allowable amount of residential units. Next slide. Thank you. So staff does recommend approval of this petition upon resolution of some outstanding issues related to transportation and site and building design. I did have communication with the petitioner today, and they've agreed to work with CDOT to address the remaining transportation issues. And like I said, they have committed to the live work units to provide a minimum one, and we'll have a continuing conversation with exactly what we might be comfortable with. So I'll be glad to take any questions.
Certainly. Live work units, I like the innovation on that, but I'll let Lansdale go first.
Lots of questions about this particular one. I'll start with an easy one for you if you don't mind, or I'll try to make it easy for you. Can you talk a little bit about your traffic impact study and what changes shifted there to recommend staff approval for this? Or do you need more specifics about that? Yeah, did your TIS account for any dual turn lanes into, out of, on the property?
Thank you. I would pass that over to Travis to answer.
Travis, sorry to put you on the spot. Yep.
Actually, Drew, could you talk about the TIS? I don't believe the TIS was what was holding up the staff approval, but could you talk about some of the lane requirements from the TIS, Drew?
Yeah, there were multiple phases with the traffic study, and there's dual lanes inbound and outbound at several of the intersections. The ramps, the southbound ramps, Mallard Glen and West Mallard Creek Church Road. There's several intersections without getting into every single one. If you have
Thanks, Drew.
specific questions.
Yep. Appreciate that. The second question I have, if I may, is, can you talk a little bit about the school access design? When I looked at the original drawings and I looked at this petition, it just stood out to me that it's going to be a very difficult scenario for ingress and egress because of the location of the school and the opportunities of the bus and vehicular exit and drop off and pickup zones in and out of this parcel. Can you talk a little bit about, was that included in, and did CDOT have any impact, or have CMS have any impact into say on the design? Thank you.
The school design isn't done yet. It is part of the overall aspect of this project. I know that was a big point for this project, for the site to kind of be designed around this, but the school design is not completed yet.
Yeah, thanks very much. I just want to let my peers know that, yeah, I have concerns about this and supporting this at this time. Thank you.
Welton and then Russell.
Could I get a little bit of clarification? Are there stub roads on Plan Northeast in section A5? I guess, are there going to be stubs to the adjacent? I guess those are roads or communities there. And also at A7, is that a stub as well? And are there future plans for roads on that particular side of the project?
Yes, there are some stubs there. No, this project has coordinated with subdivision, and they have set up, I believe, that stub to the north side of A5, or what you see on the right side of A5 is set up for future development. So there's multiple stubs throughout the project, and they'll stub to the property line if a road isn't currently there, but it'll set up for development for the future.
Just a quick follow. Did the traffic study take into account the changes that potentially would happen then on those roads as they go out to North Tryon? That's off my map, so I'm supposing it's North Tryon.
I can answer this. Yeah, there were some assumptions made with the new internal street network this development will provide about where traffic will use some of the new roads, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, yes, that was taken into consideration.
Okay.
They didn't just look at the property.
Yeah.
Right. Russell.
Can we flip back to the first map with like the A5 and S1 and that stuff on it? So just for clarification, so if you're looking at A4, S1, and then A6, A5, I am taking it that the tree saved area is the natural boundary between like all four of those. Because we got a red line in the middle, but then they shift. So I'm just making sure that I understand that to be correct.
Yeah, that's correct. That's line that goes north-south. There's future road extension of Mallard Glen Drive.
Got it. Thank you. That answers my question. One other thought about this one. This one is rather concerning to me, mainly because of the scale and scope of it. And while we're adding a school, and I know one of the big draws is to do a lot of transportation improvements, and quite frankly, the transportation improvements on 84, 85 and North Tryon, and then over to Mallard Creek Road scare me to death. Because I think it's going to increase speed and cause some accidents, but that's neither here or there. I do think that we're missing an opportunity here with the park space and with the school. It's not walkable. Like, you're going to have to drive, period. So that's a bit of a concern. I do have one question about the difference between the public hearing and now. I think one of the things that planning staff asked for was the retail uses. Was that the live work? Did that satisfy staff's need for retail in the area?
Yeah, we asked for a little bit more clarification and commitment to those units rather than the way it was worded on this one. They have agreed to work with us on that, but that does help. I don't think retail, as I said at the hearing, is potentially maybe not as viable given the location off of the main road. So the live work units will provide at least some opportunity for things across from the school, like a small office or, a place where you might have like a math tutoring center or, things that could also serve some folks that are looking for some after school help or, small offices or small retail space. But outside of standalone retail buildings, which I don't know if they'd be viable back off of the main road like this, that I think still provides us an opportunity to get some, mix of use there, particularly in that area before you get to the school that could provide a little bit more supportive uses for it.
Thank you. Yeah, I would agree with your statement on the retail. I think it'll be hard pressed being so far from main road to work without being in a denser pattern. But I'm also concerned. I wonder about the trips generated. I mean, they're showing 14,000. I think it's going to be much higher than that because that's essentially a school and all residential with no services outside of what we get on the live work. So I'm wondering if we're undercounting the traffic in this area, and then if we're not also locking university into a auto-centric future without giving it a chance to pedestrianize with the rest of the city. Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Lansdale? Nope. Okay. Motions?
All right, I'll take a leap here, and I apologize, but in some ways, but I will not. I'll be able to share the reasons why upon question. Having reviewed the petition and considering the consistency statement prepared by staff, I move we recommend the denial of the petition number 2022048 as it appears before us in the adoption of the consistency statement.
Rhodes, second.
Properly moved by Lansdale, seconded by Rhodes.
So I will say, if that's going to be the motion, you'll have to come up with a consistency statement that matches, because staff's bullet points are for support. So if there's a consistency statement in the opposite, then you'll have to come up with your own rationale.
For the vote, yeah.
No, not before the.
So we've got the staff recommend, since we're going against the staff recommendation at this point, you see the blank lines on we need to give the reasons why it's not.
Sure. So yeah, this is my first time to do the denial piece, and my apologies for procedural ineffectiveness here.
You're learning your girl.
No problem.
So the reasons for denial by my perspective, it does not provide a safe and equitable mobility option, and with the relationship for pedestrian and active mobility, along with the trip generation numbers associated with the petition.
It's good.
Will, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah.
If you think he's on it? Does anyone else wish to opine on this? If no, we can put this to a vote.
Did you get a
Does-
second?
Yeah, Rhodes
Okay.
seconded. Rhodes, your second stand? I'll just double check with staff. Does that
Yeah, Michael.
ring true enough to you? That gets what you need? Good deal. All right, taking this to a vote. If you agree to if you agree to support the motion to deny this petition, vote aye and raise your hand so we can keep track of who's where.
Are you calling the question?
Pardon me?
Are you calling? the
Yes,
question?
to vote. Please, please vote aye if you're accepting the petition to deny.
Aye.
And opposed? Was that unanimous, just to confirm? I see no one disagreeing. That's unanimous, 7-0 to deny. Okay. I'll double back with Michael. Is there anything additional, or Dave, is there anything additional you guys feel you need? Want to make sure you're comfortable? Good deal. All right. Moving right along. Unless there's another matter before us. Okay. Item number 12, rezoning petition 2022-084 by Mission Properties. Michael, back to you.
Thanks. So this is approximately 20.85 acres located along the south side of Ridge Road and the north side of Interstate 485 interchange. It is currently zoned R3 Single Family Residential, and the proposed zoning is R17 MFCD. The 2040 policy map calls for Neighborhood 1. So for this proposal, it allows up to 213 single-family attached townhome style dwelling units. It limits the maximum building height to 48 feet. It commits to constructing turn lanes along the site's public street frontage. They do commit to a 12-foot multi-use path along the site's frontage of Ridge Road. They are providing a 50-foot Class C buffer abutting the single-family homes, and they are providing, actually, they've increased it to 0.5 acres of open space, which will include a minimum of 2 of the following amenities: clubhouse combination of hardscape, softscape, pool, cabana, benches, and seating, landscape, art, fountain, and et cetera. And they are providing architectural standards, including building materials. Next slide. So some of the changes since the public hearing, they have reduced the unit count to 138 single-family attached dwelling units, and they are increasing the open space to 0.50 acres. Next slide. So the petition is inconsistent with the 2040 policy map recommendation for Neighborhood 1. But staff does recommend approval of this petition. Be glad to take any questions.
Excellent. Questions on this one? Anyone? Russell?
Yeah, so this is, I guess it's more of a statement than a question, but I guess I'm concerned about this one because it's such a pioneering property, considering there's literally nothing around it at all. And it seems to be very far from really any city services. It's not really connected to 485 or 85. And it's not even a good third space option out there for the residents that we build this for. Now, mind you, I love neighbors. I always want more neighbors, but I wonder if we're just kind of settling in here for just kind of the same old from a development standpoint. The other concern I have is that across Ridge Road, we had that massive rezoning to allow the warehouse. And the mode of transportation for all of those trucks is gonna be literally right across the street from it. So we're gonna be looking at 18-wheel trucks coming off of Ridge Road, making that left, a screen left, and heading out to 77 and coming in off of, not 77, off of 45 and coming in off of 45. So that one is concerning to me for that reason. And just the location, I just wonder about the efficacy of a development so far away and so disconnected from the area that it wants to serve.
Welton.
Michael, you just did this one, right?
Yeah.
The inconsistency is based on the form of the development, correct? Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I just want to make a statement that it's pretty dense, and I think that the transportation and understanding the safe and equitable mobility issues are challenged. I get that it's an infill project, it's an important spot, but I just think it might need a little bit closer review before we approve this. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional question, comments? Rose.
Just a comment. I don't think that it aligns with the 10-minute neighborhoods that we've discussed with the 2040 plan. Knowing that area very intimately, I live in that neighborhood. It does not provide, having that after the 2040 has been approved would just be truly inconsistent with what we're looking for the future.
Any other questions? All right. Any motions? I guess I did have one question. Sorry, I forgot my question right in front of me. I know there was talk thank you. I know there was talk during the public hearing about the potential for a landmarked status on the property. It sounded like it was a long shot at the public hearing. Was there any development along those lines? Any further discussion with the petitioner or anything of that?
No, not this time.
Right. Okay. All right. That's all the questions that I'm aware of. Anyone else wish to make a motion or a comment? Go ahead. Paul.
Walton, I'll make a motion. And like Commissioner Lansdale, I'll just kind of go with it, see where it leads to. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move we recommend approval of petition number 2022-084 as it appears before us and adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Gaston, I second.
Properly moved by Welton, seconded by Gaston. All in favor, say of approval, raise your hand, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Is that 3? And opposed?
No.
And that is 4. That fails on a 3 to 4 vote. Is there an alternate motion that we should entertain? Or are there any additional questions or debate that we should have? I'll voice, the one thing I would say is at the original density, I would be complete no. They did dial it back. I feel it's starting to approach what you might potentially see in a single family or in a N1 development down the road as we evolve into UDO. But I certainly understand the point that this is an island of residential out here.
So,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair, just to make sure, we need to have a motion to deny, or does the motion fail and we represent the fail at that point?
So we could,
We still have to voice our opposition.
if we want to deny it, if we
I would
don't
suggest an alternate.
pass it, it essentially defers. Is that correct?
I would suggest an alternate motion.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, this is Lansdale. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to deny this petition, to consistency statement by staff we recommend the denial of the petition number 2022084 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement.
Again, you'd have to make your own consistency statement.
Right. And I guess it is right now. Okay, great.
Mhm.
There has been some concerns that expressed for the type of use for the parcel, the density of the parcel and transportation issues related to safe and equitable transportation.
Russell, second.
Properly moved by Lansdale, seconded by Russell. To vote in favor of denial of this petition, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
That is 4. And opposed? Aye.
All right, nay.
Nay,
Aye.
sorry.
Nay.
Thank you. I meant nay.
Whatever.
I meant nay.
Yeah, whatever.
And that passes 4-3
To deny.
To deny.
to deny. Yes.
That's, we're all good now.
And you have enough data? Thank you. All right, moving on. To petition number 13, rezoning petition 2022-087 by Appaloosa Real Estate Partners. That is Michael again. We got a running on the
I know.
line here. Gonna be busy.
Fair, yeah. So this, the current zoning is R3, single family residential. Proposed zoning is UR2, urban residential conditional. Next slide. So the 2040 policy map calls for neighborhood 1 place type. I don't believe, state that it's approximately 11.65 acres located on the east side of Mallard Creek Road, north of Governor Hunt Road, and west of David Taylor Drive. So in this proposal, they allow up to 283 multifamily dwelling units.
Yeah, this was the
This is
original.
the old one?
Yeah, well,
This
this,
is not-
this is the original proposal.
The original.
What was,
Ignore that slide.
right.
Yeah, it's giving me. Yeah, I've got it.
Not bad.
Yeah. So, so this allows up to 132 townhome style multifamily dwelling units. The residential units shall be for sale with no more than 20% of the units shall be permitted for rent. They're providing an 8-foot planting strip and 12-foot multi-use path along the site's frontage along Mallard Creek Road. They are dedicating 50 feet of right of way from the center line of Mallard Creek Road. They are providing access to the southern portion of the site will be right in, right out only, and access to the northern portion of the site at Colvard Way will be a full movement intersection. They're providing ADA compliant bus stop on Mallard Creek Road. That'll be determined during permitting. They're providing 5,000 square feet of improved open space. That will include elements such as walking paths, landscaping, seating areas. They're providing architectural standards, including building materials, and providing walkways to connect all residential entrances to sidewalks along public and private streets. So some of the changes, as you can see, is the biggest is the type of units to townhomes, as well as and then the number that was at 283 multifamily units. They came back to 132 single family attached townhome style units. And they have committed those residential uses to be for sale with no more than 20% of the units that would be permitted for rent. Next slide.
50,000.
So staff, it's inconsistent with the 2040 policy map recommendation for the neighborhood 1 place type, but staff does recommend approval of this petition. Be glad to take any.
Michael, I
Well,
think
to-
just for clarification, I don't think the monetary contribution is in the conditional notes on the latest plan.
Is,
So if there's questions, the petitioner is here and can answer any questions about.
Okay.
that.
Any questions? Welton?
Michael, is there any, and I was just looking through it really quickly, is there any connectivity across the street there at Colvert? Is it Colvard Park? Yeah, to the school. Is there anything there in this at all? Well, just in general, I was just wondering if it was possible to live across the street and walk your kid to school. Okay. All right.
It's a much different question. So.
Yeah, okay.
I do have a question.
Well,
Looking at their revised site plan. So it looks like there are two private alleys that kind of dead end right at Public Street B. Is there any reason why those dead end and not connect into Public Street B? So if you come in at first, you see right behind the first row that of townhomes that run, yeah, right there. So both sides. Like there's a hammerhead on either side. Is there any reason why that's there? Why I couldn't just go ahead and connect? Seems like it'd be a much more connected parcel doing that. Just curious.
No, they really.
Wow.
Would that be CDOT or would that be?
Both. Likely the petitioner more than CDOT.
Yeah, those.
We can ask the question.
Yeah, I would like to suspend to ask the question.
Okay.
Maybe not.
It looks like we're considering suspending. Are there any additional questions besides the question about the not being a through street?
I had a quick question.
Right, sorry.
I'm gonna take Commissioner Swelton's favorite question. What puts this petition as inconsistent with the neighborhood one?
Again, it's mainly it's planned multifamily,
Gotcha.
but, you know, the way they have the townhome units, the form is, something that you would find in the neighborhood.
Gotcha.
It's not a whole grouping of them, basically, is the problem. Yep. Lansdale, did you have?
No, not at this time. Yeah.
Are we going to suspend?
Yes, that's the next question. Does anyone want to make a motion to suspend the rules to ask the question regarding this intersection?
Commissioner Welton, I'll make a motion that we suspend the rules to ask the petitioner, Commissioner Russell's question.
Commissioner Russell, second.
Properly moved by Welton, seconded by Russell. All in favor, say aye. Of suspending the rules. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good deal. Petitioner, if you could get on mic there and introduce yourself.
Bridget Grant, land use consultant with Moore and Van Allen. I believe it might be a proximity to our access on the main thoroughfare and how close we can have those driveways. And if not, there's also some on-street parking that we're providing to provide additional guest parking. I think it's something we'd be willing to explore providing that connection though, if it's permitted and it works for the overall site.
And last question, the contribution. Can you clarify the statement of the contribution?
We opted to do a significant reduction. I believe we went from 283 units down to 182. So it made a significant difference in what we were able to provide. And so that contribution was not able to be provided with a significant reduction. And then the commitment to a for sale product in lieu of a for rent product.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Returning back to session. You don't have to vote on that, right? No. Okay, good. We're back in rules. Any other questions for staff? Any motions?
Commissioner Rhodes, I'll make a motion.
Go right ahead, Rhodes. Thank you.
Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-087 as it appears before us, and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us. Yes.
Properly moved by Rhodes, seconded by Russell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Lansdale? That passes 6-1. Lansdale, go ahead and make your.
Yeah, I just want to express concern, the proximity to school and the existing outstanding traffic issues associated with this rezoning causes me concern, and that's why I'm voting against that tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 14, rezoning petition 2022-089 by Taylor Morrison. Michael, it's a busy night for you.
It is.
Districts will all be better, right?
Maybe. So this one is approximately 43.72 acres located on the south side of Mount Holly Huntersville Road and north side of Interstate 485 and west of Oakdale Road. Current zoning is R3, single-family residential with the Lake Wiley protected area. The proposed zoning is MX2 innovative, Lake Wiley protected area. The 2040 policy map is calling for neighborhood 1 at this site. So this proposal allows up to me to read that. This site plan allows for a maximum of 322 single-family detached, single-family attached, and/or multifamily attached triplexes dwelling units. They limit the height to 48 feet. Some of the innovative standards, internal private streets shall have public access easements, no minimum lot size or width. Individual units will not be required to have frontage on a public or private street, but will comply with the 400 rule. Reduction of setback along private streets to 14 feet from back of curb. All yards and setbacks will be provided for the overall parcels and not apply to individual units. And the building separation internal to the site shall be a minimum of 10 feet of separation. They are providing an 8-foot planting strip and 12-foot multi-use path on Mount Holly Huntersville Road. They are providing an amenity corridor to include a minimum of 3 of the following elements: covered pavilion, shelter, benches, picnic tables, leasing office, maintenance buildings, fitness facility, gathering room, pool, butterfly garden, and/or dog park. They provide walkways to connect all residential entrances to sidewalks along public and private streets. It does provide an easement over the amenity corridor for public access in coordination with Parks and Rec. And they provide architectural standards, including the building materials. Next slide. Been no major changes since the public hearing. Staff does recommend approval of this petition upon resolution of outstanding issues to transportation. And I did have communication with the petitioner that they are going to address those, and we'll have it in a revised site plan shortly. And yeah, staff does recommend approval. Thank you.
And since this is still inconsistent, is it, again, the, right?
You know
Well,
the
just,
answer.
we're just confirming and trying to outline.
Yeah.
And
Moving
just to piggyback on that, it's not only just tonight, we've had a number that are just the form, but sometimes it's
There's
the
more.
policy. And I want to make sure that we are clear that there's some things that the policy we're going against, we're rubbing against, because that is a longer term question. The form, we can smell those a mile away, and that's fine. And in the pursuit of the policy of putting more housing on the ground, we can be very lenient in that particular regard. But if we're going against form primarily, that I want to know a deeper answer. And that's why I asked the question repeatedly. So sorry, but it's my pet question.
I did see that
Noted,
this one did include some triplexes, which would have been an acceptable form.
Right.
Just, again, not a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, and I would agree. I would agree with Commissioner Walton's statement on the consistency. I think it's important that we start teasing these out because this is gonna be the way of life for a while until we really understand not only the UDO, but the place types, which I think should be a guiding recommendation for us as we look at rezoning. That being said, I'm really conflicted about this one because this is very similar to the one on Ridge Road, and that is kind of a pioneer and it's an island. That being said, I like a lot about this project, for specifically I cannot talk today, and I apologize. Specifically, the unit mixes and types, I think are awesome. The innovation of no minimum lot widths is something that is near and dear to my heart. So I do love that somebody decided to finally die on that hill. But this one is giving me just some pause. And I think I'm gonna go down to the last minute on my vote on this one.
Lansdale.
Well, let me help you speed the clock up. I don't want to put you on the spot, but of course, when everybody says that, you're on the spot. But can you talk a little bit about the rationale behind the reduction of the setback to 14 feet on private streets? I'm just trying to understand how we can marry the previous comments about that. So how hard is that? Was that decision to make for staff?
I think I'm gonna let Dave.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand the question.
So when you look at the two slides or the summary slide for changes, there we go. That was it. So you say that reduction of innovative standards, a reduction of setback along private streets to 14 foot from back of curb. What's the rationale behind that for this particular rezoning?
That's the developer's proposal to reduce them to a 14-foot setback from back of curb. I don't know what the standard would be for a standard single-family house. I think maybe 30 feet for a single-family detached. And the innovative provision that they're proposing is to have those at 14 foot to have them set up a little bit closer to the internal street network. So wasn't a staff recommendation or proposal, was proposed by the petitioner.
Thank you.
Anyone else? You know my next question. Anyone want to make a motion?
Gaston, having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-089 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Harvey, second.
Properly moved by Gaston, seconded by Harvey. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Are you opposed or aye?
Nope.
Okay. That passes 5-2. Can you create a statement?
Yes.
Opposition?
Yeah, this one hurt, but I think I'm still on just the pioneering nature and being a way in that it goes against kind of that 10-minute neighborhood and mobility. We're still putting people in cars even though we have density. So just want to remain consistent on that.
Or do you want to add anything, Rose?
Same here. I like the plan altogether. I'm just concerned about us getting away from the 10-minute neighborhood, the structure.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah. This was a hard one.
10 minutes in a car.
All right. Michael, is that everything you need? Thank you. All right, moving on to rezoning petition number 15. Item number 15, rezoning petition 2022-090 by Harrison Rocky LLC. Dave.
Thank you. This petition is just over 4 acres on Harris Boulevard, just off I-485. It's currently zoned R17 conditional, and they're proposing an R22 MF conditional. It is mapped as a neighborhood 2 on the policy map. And the proposal presented at hearing was for up to 92 multifamily residential units. And building height be limited to 50 feet, 28-foot Class C buffer provided out there in green. along with tree save areas. Design standards have been incorporated into the site as well as common open space area. Right in, right out access will be provided on W.T. Harris Boulevard. And it does also provide a right turn lane at the entrance with 100 feet of storage, as well as a 12-foot multi-use path and 8-foot planting strip along the W.T. Harris Boulevard frontage. Changes after hearing, just added some clarifying notes about side and rear yards that they would be provided as per the ordinance. Also noted that all transportation improvements will be approved and constructed before the first CO is issued for the building. And then also modifies development to state the number of principal buildings will be limited to just the one that's shown on the plan. Staff does recommend approval upon resolution of one outstanding issue related to site and building design. And it is consistent again with the 2040 policy map, and we'll take any questions you have.
Thank you. Any questions, committee? If no questions, motions.
Gaston, having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-090 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Lansdale, second.
Second, properly moved by Gaston, seconded by Lansdale. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes 7-0, unanimous. Moving on to item number 16, rezoning petition 2022-126 by Tribute Companies. Dave, back with you.
Thank you. This is about 48 off of North Tryon Street, currently sitting at access is being provided through the building to the north. It's also east of Chevyville, Schoolville, City Boulevard, R3, R8, and R12. Just to the north, that's where this petition would get access from. Neighborhood 1 on policy map. It's for up to 285 multi-family, single family units. 285 pounds. Illustrates and that there's that 93 foot with a power transmission across the whole part of the zoning site. Our architectural standard built into the project. Proposed buffer to 50 feet, reduced by 25%, 37.5 feet. Fence. There's a 100-foot stream buffer and possible pre-shade areas there to the south. Also, an approximate 6.5 acre Davis Park would be provided. Portion of the site as well. Built multi-use path would run along the southern portion of the site. Sidewalk on all opposite sides of the proposed public street. C. And also, prior to permitting, that coordination will be made with the city of Charlotte and Meck County to accommodate a future segment of the Cross Charlotte Trail through the southern portion of the site as needed. And also, following transportation improvements have been incorporated into the proposal. Ingress and egress via connection to the proposed street, which would match up there to the north. That's where there's 380 multifamily residential units being constructed through petition 2021-150, which has already been approved and in permitting. Doesn't propose internal network of public streets and alleyways with road stub for future connections, and also 6-foot sidewalks and 8-foot planting strips on all internal streets. And then any of the improvements outlined in the approved traffic study in coordination with the CDOT and NCDOT at the intersection of North Tryon and Moorhead Road, and also at the intersection of North Tryon and where the site is being accessed just to the north. So changes after under the intersection of North Tryon and Moorhead Road, it modifies the language as follows. They would provide a U-turn bulb to accommodate northbound U-turns, and also adds a subheading intersection of North Tryon Street and Hudspeth Road as the following language there to install a directional crossover median and then convert the full movement intersection to reduce conflict intersection. That would be in coordination with that rezoning petition just to the north, 2021-150. And then also modified language to read that the Class C buffer would be reduced with that wall, fence, or berm from 50 feet to 37.5. Staff does recommend approval of this petition. No remaining outstanding issues. It is, again, inconsistent with the policy map recommendation, but do feel that it provides a good transition out from the R12 just to the north, and adds an additional housing type into this general area. And we do again recommend approval, and we'll take any questions you may have.
Thank you. Lansdale, go ahead.
Just as a clarification question for me, on the public street A the private street, public street A, are there sidewalks on both sides there? I couldn't tell from my notes.
I believe there should be, but can someone in CDOT confirm that it's a local residential wide?
Yes, there's sidewalk on both sides.
Thank you. I'm going to express some concern about this one. I know it's a real challenge for me to be in opposition of so many of these rezonings, but dumping people out to a reduced conflict intersection, that's another name for that is called a super street. And what that does is it requires a person, able-bodied or not, about over 90 seconds to cross that street on a reduced conflict intersection. And there are no prioritizations for pedestrians or non-vehicular mobility when you push the beg buttons for those products here in Charlotte as well. So I still think there's some outstanding issues associated with transportation that causes me concern. Thank you.
And Russell.
Just a quick question. So it looks like there's a public street B and a public street C that essentially don't tie into anything. Why are those streets laid out the way they are? Can you explain that one?
Yeah, just future connectivity to the vacant parcels to either side. And I think part of this goes into Cabarrus County, and part of this project, I think, does straddle both jurisdictions. So they are providing some connectivity to either ongoing or future development on that side of the county line. But it's just to set up a street network per the subdivision ordinance.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. On that question, I mean, I know we've got stub streets going into the other county. How do we interact? How do we work? How do we pre-plan that? Is there anyone on the other side of the county line, Cabarrus County, who is?
Yeah, I'll defer to CDOT. I don't work with that side of the house enough. CDOT, do you guys have any interaction with that kind of scenario?
Well, we will look into, and Drew, you can hop in if you have more to add. But we do coordinate with streets. I believe this had a master overall plan, but there's streets that they have already kind of coordinated with for future development here. They're not shown on their site plan because it's not a part of their development. But there's future streets that are planned out. They work with subdivision here as well as us here in CDOT Land Development to plan out where these stub locations are and what that needs to look like.
Okay, just curious, because I know how we work with some of our other municipalities and everything when we get out in the county spaces or where we bump into them, but I was just curious how we handle the next to neighboring counties, but thank you. Because I mean, we are talking about suburban or at some point urban development that will need more of that, obviously, in this area as it's developing so fast. Any other questions on the committee? Meaningful size? Okay. In that case, motion.
I'm just trying to find all these damn roads.
Mm-hmm. Do we need a moment or?
Good.
Anyone want to make a motion?
Gaston, having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement provided by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-126 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Rhodes, second.
Properly moved by Gaston, seconded by Rhodes. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And opposed?
Aye.
We have Russell and Lansdale. Who wants to lead off the opposition statement?
I will defer to my esteemed colleague.
I stand in opposition due to the outstanding transportation issues associated with the interaction with existing state roads. Thank you.
All right, passed 5-0. Don't believe I said that into the record.
5-2.
5-2, pardon me. Passed 5-2. I wrote down 5-2, just to be.
And just to
that's not
clarify,
public
so
record.
just to clarify, there's no, staff doesn't have any outstanding issues with transportation. So the outstanding issues are, okay.
Correct. Number 17, item number 17, rezoning petition 2022-130 by Thomas Elrod. And John, welcome to the park.
Thank you. Approximately 1.04 acres on the northwest intersection of Carmel Road at Little Avenue and north of Pineville Matthews Road and east of Johnston Road. Site's currently developed with and it used to be an old bank, and then the B1CD zoning that's currently in place was for a bakery, I think, or some sort of small commercial use. The proposed zoning is O1CD, which would essentially take it back to the O1 zoning that it originally was. It was originally office zoning, but it would be a conditional zoning this time. Next plan. The 2040 policy map recommends community activity center for the site. And so that was the footprint that was shown at the public hearing. They made some modifications to that. Emma, can we go to just go on to the next slide? So this is the site plan that they are proposing. It would, they increased the building size to 20,000 square feet, up from the 17,200. I think that was at the hearing. Constructing a 12-foot multi-use path along Carmel Road. The existing sidewalk on Little Avenue would remain, ingress and egress on Carmel as well. Next slide. Staff recommends approval of the petition. It's consistent with the 2040 policy map recommendation for community activity center place type. I'll take any questions.
Questions? Landstill.
A comment. I appreciate the petitioner on this one. The transportation solutions associated with this parcel do align with my beliefs and understanding of how to improve transportation and rezonings, eliminating the Little Avenue ingress and egress, also limiting that left turn or continuing to eliminate the left turn option onto Carmel Road from Little. We see people on that space skirt that island often just because it's such a difficult parcel to get to. So we appreciate that realignment. However, I disagreed with the petitioner in the public hearing in saying that this part of Carmel is really office, but this part of Carmel is transitioning into a different use pattern. We across the street from 51, we have parcels that are much more pedestrian. My colleague, Mr. Russell, chatted about that opportunity for improvement there as well. And I just want to let folks know that I'm in support of this. Thank you.
Welton.
John, is the building height going to change? You said that the building square footage changed and the shape of it, just on the look, I'm wondering if the height changed.
They did not change the building height. I think they did clarify the language about the number of stories because we measure height in feet and not stories, but the maximum building height did not change, or the minimum building height, I should say. Sorry.
Okay. And I'll ask Commissioner Lansdale, what did you like about eliminating the exit onto Little? Did you is that a positive because it reduces the opportunities for a conflict there?
Sure. On Little, thank you for the question. On Little Avenue, we have commercial truck parking all along along Little Avenue. There is a pattern of 18-wheelers and delivery vehicles that park on Little Avenue as a consistency, whether or not that's appropriate for code enforcement. And what we see is that people, while the Chinese restaurant was still open, would cut through the parking lot and make the left turn onto Carmel to avoid that right-only intersection onto Little. So it eliminates cut-through traffic. It eliminates conflict zones on to Carmel. The 12-foot mixed-use path is a benefit for Carmel Road as the expansion of pedestrian access and different uses along Carmel Road will be benefited by this parcel.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Any other questions?
This is Lansdale. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move and recommend the approval of 2022130 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement as appears before us.
It's Welton, I'll second.
Probably moved by Lansdale, seconded by Welton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 7-0. Moving on to item number 18, it's rezoning petition 2022-133 by Paramount Development LLC. Michael.
Thank you. This is approximately 18.4 acres located on the north and south side of North Lake Mall Drive. It's west of Interstate 77 and east of North Lake Center Parkway. The current zoning is CC Commercial Center. The proposed zoning is MUDA, Mixed Use Development Center with options. The 2040 policy map calls for a regional activity center here at this site. This proposal request will allow up to 604 multifamily dwelling units in 2 development areas. Development area A allows up to 292 multifamily units, and development area B allows up to 312 dwelling units. The building height shall be limited to a maximum of 62 feet. They are requesting an optional provision to allow a limited amount of surface parking areas and maneuvering, and for parking to be located between the proposed structures and North Lake Mall Drive within development area A. They commit to restripe the northbound through left turn lane to a terminating left turn lane since the north leg of the intersection is moved as part of the rezoning. They are providing an 8-foot planting strip, an 8-foot sidewalk along North Lake Mall Drive. They're providing an internal network of sidewalks within each development area, connecting the proposed buildings to North Lake Mall Drive. They're providing a pedestrian connection from development area B across North Lake Mall Drive to the future Dixon Branch Greenway located to the north of development area B. They're providing multiple publicly accessible pocket parks along the boundary of development area A as generally depicted on the rezoning plan. Each pocket park will be improved with seating, lighting, or hardscape landscaping with a minimum of 9,000 square feet of publicly accessible pocket parks will be provided. They are providing architectural standards, including building materials. Yeah, I definitely cannot read that, but I have it here. That got small, yeah. Yes. So, yeah, some of the things they've changed the layout, the design of the buildings, especially in that particular development area. So the pedestrian gates constructed as part of the perimeter fence for the development area A that control access to the proposed 12-foot internal sidewalk that now connects, that would is proposed to connect the mall to the perimeter retail area will remain open and unlocked during normal business hours, of which they've defined as between 8 and 6. They will construct a 12-foot sidewalk between the perimeter retail area and the main mall building. They will be constructing a decorative aluminum fence along the perimeter of each development area. The open space and amenity areas will be provided within each development area with a minimum of 10,000 square feet of improved open space within development area at a location that's central to each development area and convenient to the future residents. They propose open space areas to be improved with at least 3 of the following elements of walking paths, landscaping, seating areas, and other structures. The petitioner will also provide a pedestrian connection from Development Area B to the existing crosswalks on North Lake Mall Drive to facilitate a future pedestrian connection to Dixon Branch Greenway. And they will provide a publicly accessible pocket park along the boundary of Development Area A as generally depicted on the plan. Those were some of the main changes since the public hearing. Next slide. So the plan is consistent with the 2040 policy map recommendation for the Regional Activity Center place type. And staff does recommend approval of this petition. There are some outstanding issues. Was in communication with the petitioner. They're working on the transportation, or they agreed to the transportation outstanding issues from CDOT. And we're still in, I guess, talks about the perimeter fence and pedestrian gates. I think they have indicated that they would like to keep the perimeter fence and the pedestrian gates, even though the gates would be open between their regular business hours. Be glad to take any questions.
Any questions? Russell?
Formulating.
It mentioned publicly accessible parks and amenities, but it seems like there's only one park that's to the north of Building 3. Is there another public space that I'm missing? Thank you.
But Michael, the gate is around the entire, it was kind of hard to tell because the line is similar to the property boundary, but the gate is around the entire community.
Yeah, so it's.
Or the fencing is around.
Yeah, for both development areas, there will be a perimeter fence around it with, gates at the access, vehicle access, as well as if you look at development area A, toward the bottom, this pedestrian gate, at the top as you go into the mall, would be another pedestrian gate, but.
So if you were walking along the road, you can't walk into the area.
You could,
but
The pedestrian space.
the,
Where the gates are.
the gates would be.
Yeah.
Would be open according to the petitioner during their normal business hours of between 8 and 6.
If you're dodging traffic now.
Yeah, as Commissioner Russell says, this gives me pause on the pedestrian friendliness of it all. And my question's answered.
All right. Additional questions, Rose?
I guess just a suggestion. So I had an opportunity to ask the petitioner about the gates because I was initially apprehensive about it. But understanding and being transparent about where we are with North Lake Mall in that area, I can understand. And I think a happy medium is to have the gates open at a certain time. I don't think that is restrictive. Perhaps my suggestion would be to my colleagues is to suspend and ask the petitioner yourself. Maybe that will help to give some clarification on the gate.
I'm good. I had that conversation with the petitioner. And made it clear that I wanted to see this, which I took a look at over the weekend. I'm still not in love with it though, and so Now it's down to the part where you have to love it or not.
Right.
And I'm trying to figure that out at this moment, if you must know. So I'm good. I don't need to necessarily ask the petitioner. If anybody else has a question they'd like to ask the petitioner, we can go ahead, but, let me.
Commissioner Gaffney, actually, though, this
Make
is-
sure your mic's on.
Actually, Commissioner Wilton, this is for you. Just clarification, were you talking about walking, pedestrians walking, and they wouldn't be able to walk through
Yeah.
because the gates are there? At the mall, do you see pedestrians walking anywhere? I mean, there's gonna be housing, so they're gonna walk from the housing to the apartment or from the housing to the mall, but they just walking along that street? I'm just-
Well, I mean. I want them to be able to, if they were in that situation. That's what it boils down to. And yes, you know, in any mall, to tell you the truth, given how malls are constructed and have been constructed over these years, rarely do I see people walking around the perimeter saying, oh, I'd like to walk into the mall, because they park their car close to the mall. Now, are we trying to create a pedestrian-friendly zone in this area that is independent of the mall as the central destination? And if that is the case, putting this inside of a fence maybe does not quite accomplish that. Comma, I'm not here to design this for the developer, and I will lean heavily on what staff has said as consistency here. That doesn't mean I have to like it, but I will lean heavily on what staff has said.
So to speak specifically to Commissioner Gaston's point, when I go to the mall, I like to park once, and I have definitely used the little paved area at this mall to get from the outbuildings to the mall proper on more than one occasion, because I prefer not to start the car, move it to the mall a couple 100 feet away and all that. Yay, save the environment and all that. But I also just prefer to walk. So, and I will say this adjustment kind of brings it in line. Is it a perfect thing? I don't think so. But I think we very frequently find compromise at this dais that I feel will serve our city well. Anyone like to make a motion?
Commissioner Rhodes, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-133 as it appears before us, and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Gaston, I second that motion.
Properly moved by Rhodes, seconded by Gaston. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Were you
I'm an aye.
okay?
Begrudging.
All right. We are 5-2, is that correct? Anyone disagree with that?
Yes.
Okay. That passes 5-2. Who wants to take the lead?
I'm sorry, was it 5-2 or 5-3?
It's 5-2.
5-2.
5-2.
I went aye.
Because I missed one.
Yeah, so.
He came in late.
Yeah.
He voted yes, late.
0.51 aye.
Sorry. So,
For me, in my opposition, I'll state this if nobody else does, but it does not integrate well. I think staff said it best. It does not integrate well with surrounding entitlements and does not provide a safe and equitable mobility. Thank you.
Yep, and I would echo that. It does not integrate very well, understanding the reasons why it's done. And I think it also misses an opportunity to connect the mall to the parcels in a way that we envision per the 2040 plan.
Comfortable with that? Thank you. Moving on to item number 19, rezoning petition 2022-140 by the F.A. Bartlett Tree Expert Company. Holly.
Thank you. This site is a little over 7 acres, located at the intersection of Zor Road and Thomas Road, just south of Youngblood Road. I'll also just point out here that this is by the F.A. Bartlett Tree Expert Company, and they also own a lot of the property that's along the eastern side of Zor Road, and along Youngblood Road as well. Thank you, Emma. The site is currently zoned R3. That's not reflective of the uses that we've most recently had on the site. There have been residential uses along Thomas Road, but more recently there's been a church along Zor Road. And the proposed zoning is to go to O1 conditional, office conditional. The policy map recommends neighborhood 1. That's not, this proposal is not consistent with the neighborhood 1 place type, but I'd also like to point out it did, again, house non-residential neighborhood 1 type uses prior to this petition. The proposal itself is to use the existing buildings to renovate and serve as support to the F.A. Bartlett Tree Expert Company for the purposes of research, educational facilities, office, and dormitory uses for visiting professors, researchers, and that sort of thing. So again, just to reiterate, there's really no new development happening on this site. They're renovating the interiors of the site. If anything, the only new structure we may have is closing in the existing pavilion. So the building footprints all remain the same. The cemetery remains the same. The buffers remain the same, the access to the site, parking, etc. So really this petition is just to accommodate the changes in uses so that the petitioner can support their current operation that is along the other side of Zor Road. Since the public hearing, I think that's the next slide. Since the public hearing, the petitioner addressed all outstanding issues related to land use as well as transportation. There's a lot of back and forth with CDOT as to what they could accommodate on this request, but I think they came to a good conclusion. Staff does recommend approval of this petition. Like I said, there are no other remaining outstanding issues, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Just a quick question. It said on the petition that it was going to require the petitioner to install streetscapes along Zor Road. Was that resolved as part of the comment?
That was resolved. CDOT ended up talking further with the petitioner in terms of what they were able to accommodate on that site. So there are no changes proposed to the streetscape itself.
Thank you.
Douglas.
The old inconsistency question again, and this time I believe this is inconsistency because of policy. Am I correct in the sense that you're saying it's neighborhood 1, but we're okay with an O1 use because in a previous lifetime, it's been used as something that basically was institutional with the church being there. Is that correct? Is this got a form component to it as well?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say parking lots are necessarily neighborhood 1 type forms, but also it's not necessarily only to do with the previous uses. It's also that the change in place type here is warranted. Going to campus here is essentially compatible with neighborhood 1. The building envelopes and the overall development on the site is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood 1 and the existing development. So that's why the inconsistency is okay. But is it inconsistent because of neighborhood 1 policy and building form? I'd say both of those things.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? I wasn't sure if there was the opportunity we could make the joke that they'll be preaching about tree preservation and how good trees are, but
You'll be here all week. That's right. Hey, Phil, I'll make a motion. How about that?
thank you.
To get us away from the humor. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-140 as it appears before us and adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Properly moved by Welted, seconded by Harvey. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes 7-0. Excellent. Moving right along, item number 20, rezoning petition 2022-147 by the Southport Towers PropCo LLC. John?
This is 9.94 acres bound by the south side of Fairview Road, east side of Piedmont Road Drive South, and north and west side of Barclay Downs Drive. It's currently developed with 2 office towers and two supporting parking decks. It's currently zoned O3 office and is proposing a MUD O mixed-use development optional. And the policy map recommends regional activity center for the place type. The proposal would contains 535,000 square feet of existing office uses, 13,000 square feet of existing EDE uses that would remain in areas A and B, which is basically the two northern development areas, up to 112,000 square feet of medical office or 224 hotel rooms subject to conversions for area A, 300 multifamily units in area C and or D, 25,000 square feet of retail, EDE, and personal service and other commercial uses in area A, B, C, and or D. It again allows conversions for certain uses. It prohibits a number of automobile and auto-intensive uses, installs crosswalks and has loop commitments as well, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. Upgrades ramps and crosswalks around the site, and basically would overall improve the pedestrian experience around the perimeter of the site. Installs a 12-foot multi-use path along Fairview Road as well. Provides design guidelines for new construction related to building materials, activated facades, screen parking, and the petitioner will make an effort to construct the buildings following the green building guidance, committing to installing EV charging for any new decks, and then and provides 2 times the amount of open space required for new buildings over 50,000 square feet, and the open space may be phased with the completion of each new building over 50,000 square feet. It does request an optional provision to allow a height of up to 220 feet and allowing the existing parking maneuvering to remain in area A, and I believe also B. That was a minor amendment to address the staff issue. Since the public hearing, they have added a few notes and made some clarifications as a result of some requests that they received from SPAN. They amended and clarified the location of loop branded sidewalks at Piedmont Road Drive instead of Park South Drive. They added a note that the petition will provide easements along Barclay Downs Drive and work with adjacent property owner on loop commitments. Noted that the branded crosswalks across Fairview would be completed within 24 months of issuance of the first CO, and provided a note that the site will comply with the zoning and parking requirements throughout the redevelopment. As a change as a result of staff, go back one slide, Emma. As a result to request with, we had requested that they work with urban design and staff to, on comments related to the loop triggers and timing. So far, the petitioner has agreed that they would trigger full loop commitments with the first CO for any new building in areas A, C, or D. Basically, that would allow them to construct a building in area B, a small building less than 50,000 square feet in area B, without triggering any loop commitments. The petitioner would also commit to dedicate an easement for the full loop area around the site within 6 months of the rezoning approval, regardless of any redevelopment status that would occur. So staff, right now, where staff is at, we're still asking for them to have those loop commitments triggered for any new CO, basically any CO. But we are still in discussions with the petitioner about those, and we feel like we'll come to some sort of an agreement by the time that this comes up for a decision.
Questions? I see Lance.
Sorry, I got one.
Sorry, don't pause too long.
That's all right. I was waiting for the slide to change. Staff recommends approval of the petition upon the resolution of that one outstanding issue related to the loop triggers and timing. The petition is consistent with the policy map recommendation for regional activity center place type. And I won't read through all the rationale, but if you have questions, I will take them.
Lansdale.
I just want to commend staff for working with the petitioner to offer up pedestrian and active mobility improvements sooner than later. This particular parcel I don't have any opposition to, but it is strongly, it is becoming more and more a walkable community. Of the types of uses across the street on Fairview and along Barclay Downs, or sorry, along Piedmont Row. It's just a great opportunity, and I wanted to let folks know that I'll be supporting this petition. I want to commend staff on their work with the petitioner for the improvements to pedestrian. Thank you.
Russell.
Just had a question. It says that the South Park, Charlotte apartments are under construction. So there is an apartment complex between the parking decks and development areas C and D.
Yeah, those are the imagery we have, unfortunately, is outdated. I think in the staff analysis, there may have been a street view that showed the construction actively taking place. I think they're much further along now, currently. But yeah, those were entitled through a rezoning for the south site to the south. Which, if I don't know if you're familiar with it, it's called the Liberty. That was an age restricted retirement multifamily building. I think the two buildings in the middle, I'm not sure if those are also age restricted or not, but those were entitled for that previous rezoning. It was an older rezoning, like in the 90s, I think, is when, or maybe early 2000s when that rezoning was done.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Motions?
The other way, no.
Looking for a motion? Anyone? Harvey, go ahead.
I've reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition. I move that we recommend approval of petition 2022-147 as it appears before us.
Lansdale, second.
Oh, and the consistency statement.
Sorry, and the adoption of the consistency statement.
Lansdale, second.
Thank you. Properly moved by Harvey and seconded by Lansdale with the assist. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimous 7-0. Moving on to item number 21, rezoning petition 2022-149 by Flywheel Group. Tony Thune. Max.
Good evening. Petition 2022-149 is located on the north side of North Tryon Street and east of Atando Avenue, west of Craighead Road. The site is approximately 5.91 acres in size and is currently developed with automobile dealerships, an automobile repair shop, and a metal recycler. The site is currently split zoned I-1 light industrial and I-2 general industrial, both conventional zoning districts. The proposed zoning is TOD-UC, Transit Oriented Development Urban Center, along the North Tryon frontage, and TOD-NC, Transit Oriented Development Neighborhood Center at the back of the site. Both are conditional zoning or conventional zoning districts. The 2040 policy map recommends the manufacturing and logistics place type for the site. The TOD-UC and NC districts are inconsistent with the M&L place type. However, it is adjacent to Community Activity Center place type across North Tryon Street and across Atando Avenue. The site is located within a half mile of the 36th Street Lynx Blue Line Station. According to the new UDO, the TOD district may be applied to parcels within half a mile walking distance of an existing rapid transit station, and TOD-NC district may be applied to parcels within 1 mile walking distance. Several parcels near the site, including 2 directly across North Tryon Street, have recently been zoned TOD-UC, TOD-CC, and TOD-NC, as well as other urban districts like MUD CD and MUD Optional, representing an ongoing shift in this area to more transit-supportive mixed-use developments. This is a conventional rezoning request with no associated site plan and would allow for all permitted uses in the TOD-UC and TOD-NC districts. There's currently no outstanding issues, and staff recommends approval of this petition.
And to pick up on our previous reference would include not a drive-through.
It would not include a drive-through.
Any questions, comments? Douglas.
Max, the consistency, inconsistency question again. And it seemed to me you said if it's within a certain distance, TOD applies. And to me, that then says, well, it really is consistent. Am I just having some kind of brain fart over here, or?
It is inconsistent with the policy map from the comprehensive plan, but it is consistent with the parameters outlined in the UDO for application of TOD districts.
All right, I understand. Thank you. I understood correctly. Just wanted to clarify. I know you all love me.
Any other questions?
Yeah, if we can go back to the slide that has the parcel maybe, or the parcel listed with the broadest picture one, maybe it was a saddle, there we go. Um, When I looked at this one closer, I guess I'm trying to figure out is it really only a half-mile walk to the station?
It's really.
Because you have to come up and around and down. So I mean, as the crow flies, yes.
It's to the front of the site, it's about a quarter mile. To the back of the site, it's a bit over a third of a mile, I believe. I mean, and that depends on how the circulation within the site. This is a conventional district, so there's no site plan to kind of propose that circulation. And these two parcels, well, there's I think 3 or 4 parcels, but the two areas of the site are not contiguous. So there is a challenge for the developer on down the line of how to integrate the back portion of the site that they're proposing TOD NC.
And, I'm going to be excited about the new tools the staff's going to be rolling out for the Board of County Commission and the City Council to help us get a better grip on this, and the comments all aligned into one platform. Very excited about that change. But just as a confirmation, the brownfield site is not on this parcel. Is that correct? I think there's a brownfield adjacent.
So across the street, definitely.
I'm just trying to understand proximity to that, to make sure it wasn't touching that parcel.
I'm not familiar with the brownfield site. Maybe another member of
Okay,
staff.
I
is
think our
aware.
chair confirmed that, so thank you.
Yeah, it's on the other side of Atondo.
Yeah, I thought so.
And so one thing I'll point out that I see this as a nice move. We'll finally get decent sidewalks through that part when this redevelops. I've walked this from the transit station before, and it's one of the worst places I've walked ever in the city. And obviously I walk a few places. Any other questions? Motions?
Commissioner Rhodes, I'll make a motion.
Go right ahead.
Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-149 as it appears before us, and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Gaston, I second.
Properly moved by Rhodes, seconded by Gaston. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimous 7-0. Moving on to 22, item number 22, rezoning decision 2022-160 by Pendler Development LLC. Joe.
Thank you. This is just over 24 acres located on the south side of Mount Holly Road, east of Preston Circle. Current zoning is 3 different districts, I-1, B2, and R3, all within the Lake Wiley protected area. Proposed zoning is R12 MFCD, Lake Wiley protected area. The policy map recommends neighborhood 1 for most of the site, and then manufacturing and logistics for the portion in purple. The proposal is for 288 multifamily dwelling units, limits building height to 48 feet, would be committing to National Green Building Standard bronze specifications, establishes a 30-foot building and parking setback from the future right-of-way of Mount Holly Road and existing right-of-way of Creston Circle, commits to a contribution of $125,000 to the City of Charlotte Affordable Housing Trust Fund prior to the issuance of the last certificate of occupancy, dedicates a significant portion of the site along Long Creek to Mecklenburg County for future greenway development, provides a 50-foot Class C buffer where adjacent to single-family zoning, commits to installing an ADA-compliant CATS bus waiting pad along Mount Holly Road, provides a minimum of 8,000 square feet of improved open space, and proposes a number of transportation improvements, including turn lanes, a 12-foot multi-use path along Mount Holly Road, and improvement of Creston Circle pedestrian infrastructure. Since the public hearing, the petitioners addressed comments related to site and building design. There remain three outstanding issues. The petitioner has conveyed to staff that they will be correcting or addressing the tree save as well as the transportation comment related to the phasing of improvements. They do not intend to change the building form or type as staff has requested to more aligned with neighborhood one place type. Staff does not recommend approval of petition in its current form. That is due to the development proposal, which is more aligned with the neighborhood two place type. Staff feels that is too intense for this site, in particular with in relation to the surrounding mostly single-family residential development, as well as the lack of pedestrian infrastructure to safely get future residents to the commercial node there at Mount Holly Road and Mount Holly Huntersville Road. Be happy to take questions.
All right. Questions? While everyone's getting their thoughts together. There was, so the tree save is that was the part that got resolved on, are we just dedicating land, or is there also a tree save, and is that what was resolved in the tree save question?
So there are ongoing conversations between Urban Forestry and petitioner regarding the location of the tree save.
Right.
There's a significant portion of the site, I believe, around 8 acres that are to be dedicated in Mecklenburg County. The tree save area, whether it's within that dedication area or perhaps carved out of the dedication area, that is still what is being discussed.
Determined, right. Well, that is
And
I'd
there
like
are
to see that
changes-
resolved as well, yes.
Right, and there's kind of different interpretations in the current ordinance versus the UDO. So those conversations are ongoing.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Commissioner Gaston, so I just want to make sure I'm clear. So currently it's zoned I1, but they're trying to make it residential, correct? Trying to make it R12 MF?
Just a small portion of the site, there in the light brown color, is the I1 portion of the site. Most of the site is under R3 zoning currently.
Thank you.
Anyone wish to move this to a motion then, if we don't have further questions?
Let's see, make sure I got the right one there. Yes, there we go. Thank you very much. The Lansdale, having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to deny this petition, I move that we recommend the denial of the petition number 2022160 as it appears before us, and the adoption of the consistency statement for the reasons outlined by staff associated with tree save and transportation issues. Thank you.
And a second, anyone?
Make sure I understand. So we're
Okay. Okay. Properly moved by Lansdale, seconded by Russell. All in favor of denial of this petition, vote aye.
Aye.
And nays?
Nay.
3 nays? Was that 4-3? It's confirming?
Yeah, but
4-3. That denial passes. Do we still collect a?
Yeah, still.
We don't? It's a minority? Okay, so we still do, all right. Guys? what do
Yeah,
you-
Tom, my issue is, I understand the neighborhood one, not neighborhood oneness of this. I do believe that this particular area would support a more intense use. And I believe that that would be appropriate in changing the neighborhood oneness of this particular area by having more density there. That's my note. I don't know if anybody else has anything.
I have one more to add.
Go right ahead.
I don't necessarily agree with the tree save component, especially with them giving land to the city. The city can save trees within what they're using, so I don't necessarily agree with that component.
Okay. Joe, you get everything you need there? Yes. Okay. All right. Moving on, item number 23. Rezoning petition 2022-163 by Carolina Holdings 5 LLC. Emma.
Hello, this petition or this site is approximately 0.55 acres located on the north side of Hart Road and east side of Susanna Drive, west of Rosells Ferry Road. The current zoning is R3, single family residential in the Lake Wiley protected area, and the proposed zoning is R6, single family residential Lake Wiley protected area. The 2040 policy map calls for neighborhood 1. This petition's proposal for the R6 zoning district, which translate to N1D, is consistent with neighborhood 1 place type and would help facilitate the goal of providing areas for neighborhoods with a variety of housing types where single-family housing is the primary use. There is no associated, there is no associated site plan for this petition. It is a conventional petition. Do you guys have any questions?
Motions?
Lansdale, oh, you got it? Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff, to approve this petition, I move we recommend the approval of petition number 2022-163 and the adoption of the consistency statement as appears before us.
Harvey, second.
Properly moved by Lansdale, seconded by Harvey. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And that passes unanimous 6-0. Moving on to item number 24. And this will feel very similar to the last one. Rezoning petition 2022-164 by Carolina Holdings 3 LLC. Emma.
Long time no see. This site is approximately 10.18 acres located along the north side of Hart Road, east of Susanna Drive, and west of Rosells Ferry Road. The current zoning is R3, single-family residential Lake Wiley protected area, and the proposed zoning is for R6, single-family residential Lake Wiley protected area. The 2040 policy map calls for neighborhood 1. The petition's proposal for the R6 zoning district, which translates to N1D, is consistent with neighborhood 1 place type and would help facilitate the goal of providing areas for neighborhoods with a variety of housing types where single-family housing is the primary use. This is a conventional petition, so there is no associated site plan. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions? Lansdale, want to make another motion?
Sure. I was looking over there. Make sure I wasn't stepping on any other toes.
Well,
Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move we recommend the approval of petition number 2022-163 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Gaston, second.
properly moved by Lanston, seconded by Gaston. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries 6-0. Moving on to item number 25, rezoning petition 2022-166 by Boulevard Real Estate. Pardon me?
Is that correct? Did I say the wrong number? Or were we on the wrong
You
slide?
said 163.
Oh,
You just get the number 25. then it'll be
It's just 164.
164.
Yeah.
The slide heading was
Thank you.
updated.
Shall we redo the motion or?
I think we can just correct it to 164.
Okay.
It's not-
does everyone here agree that we were meant to say 164?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I agree.
That is unanimous
Sorry.
as well.
I looked up at the screen, not on my notes.
All right, rezoning petition 2022-166 by Boulevard Real Estate Advisors LLC. Holly,
Thank you. This site is just a little under a quarter acre located on south side of West Peterson Drive, west of South Tryon Street and east of I-77. This site, sorry, Emma, if you could go, oh, Anna. If you all remember, this site is actually right adjacent to petitions 2021, 217, 218, and 225, sharing direct boundaries with 217 and 218, which also took the site by the same petitioners to TOD NC. So I think the site was initially, would have been brought with those petitions if they had owner consent at that time. The current zoning is R5 single family residential, and they are proposing to go to TOD NC. Again, that is aligned with the petitions 217, 218, and 225, located on its eastern, northern, and southern boundaries there. The policy map does recommend a neighborhood 1, so it is inconsistent with that neighborhood 1 policy map recommendation. If approved, it would take the site to neighborhood center. Staff recommends approval of this petition. It is a TOD conventional petition, so there's no associated site plan. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Then my next question would be a motion if anyone's interested.
Yes, and having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-166 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Properly moved by Gaston, seconded by Russell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0 as well.
We're rolling.
Item number 26, rezoning petition 2022-169 by Kennedy Properties LLC. John.
This is approximately 1.89 acres on the east side of Lambeth Drive, north of North Tryon Street and west of West Eastway Drive. Next slide. The site is currently zoned B2 CD, general business conditional. Proposed zoning is TOD NC, Transit Oriented Development Neighborhood Center. The policy map recommends neighborhood 1 place type for the site. Staff recommends approval of the petition. It is inconsistent with the 2040 policy map recommendation for neighborhood 1. However, the site is adjacent to multifamily residential, a mobile home park, a daycare, pre-K, and commercial uses. So there is quite a diverse mix of uses around the site. This current B2 zoning would allow a range of commercial uses, including some auto-oriented uses that would not provide appropriate transition to adjacent educational and residential uses. The site is adjacent to areas recommended for neighborhood center. And the site is within 100 feet of a proposed alignment of the Cross Charlotte Trail. And the site is within 1/2 mile walk from the old Concord Road Station. It's and that's within the areas where the TOD NC district can be applied, within 1 mile of rapid transit station. It is located in a block off of North Tryon, in an area with recent rezonings to TOD designations. And the proposed zoning would allow the site to be developed with transit supportive uses that are more compatible with the existing development and recent redevelopment that's occurring in the area. I'll take any questions.
Lansdale, go ahead.
John, can you go back to that larger picture? I think of the, it's a transit station. There we go. That's a pretty tough walk.
Understatement.
I have lots of triangles on this, and I use triangles as issues for me because it's doesn't provide a three-legged stool for me. It's issues associated with transportation. I just don't feel like this is a TOD. It's proximity to Cross Charlotte Trail for TOD. I just have lots of questions about this still. I just think we could do better without this rezoning. So thank you.
Douglas, go ahead.
John, I didn't find the Cross Charlotte Trail map. Now, this says it's within 100 feet of the planned path for the Cross Charlotte Trail, at that point, is it going to be on the same side of the road or is the, where, I don't know where the Cross Charlotte Trail is
Let's go
going.
back a few slides where, yeah, there's a slide that shows the proposed alignment. Might be the previous, yeah, the very first slide, I believe. So it's
Oh, okay.
basically, it runs along Hillsborough Avenue and turns and then goes
Okay.
behind the mobile home.
Because in the documentation, didn't it say this North Tryon segment? So I'm this gnarly thing.
It goes, it's north of, it's called the North Tryon segment. I think it's what it's called, but it's basically north of North Tryon.
Okay, because
And
I
it's
was never
embedded in
going
the
to be
neighborhood
on
at this
North
point,
Tryon on a bike.
Yeah. No, in this area, it's more embedded into the neighborhood. And
Okay.
it starts to go up towards
Okay,
Concord.
thank
basically.
you. Because like I said, I couldn't find, or I didn't find, I didn't have time to look for it. And I was just fearful.
The Greenway south of Freedom Park.
Yeah,
Over.
more or less. Near me is good, not near me bad.
Other questions, comments? I will point out, Terry, so switching zoning to NC is not the TOD NC is not the direction. I'm not sure I fully understand. I mean, I certainly see some concerns about this particular piece of property, but you're saying movement to NC is not in line? Or help me understand your position if you don't mind.
Well, I just think it's
Mike.
Yeah. That it's, well, as you go back to that satellite shot again, if you wouldn't mind. I just struggle with seeing how this is going to be effective for this parcel in such a kind of a deep area in there for TOD. So I'm just trying to get my head around that. There's I guess a mobile home park next to it and
Right.
other bits and pieces. So I think I might be missing something here, but
Okay.
I just, again, that's a heck of a half-mile walk to get to that, to make these justifications based upon that.
Is it a half mile walk or is this half mile as the crow flies is what I'm thinking.
It'd be a half mile walk.
You can't do as the crow flies, right?
Yeah, it has to be within walk. Yeah. If we could go to the land use slide, Emma. So one of the things that we looked at is it is right adjacent to neighborhood center place type, which is, appropriate for TOD as well. And this petition is, it is conventional, but they would be extending Platform Way. So there would be some added pedestrian connectivity via Platform Way that would potentially shorten or at least make the walk a little maybe safer or easier. You wouldn't have to travel along Tryon quite as far to get to the intersection of the triangular intersection. It would make it a little shorter. And the use that's to the south, kind of cut out, that's recommended for neighborhood 1 just to the south of this, that is a daycare. So, it's not a residential use. That was the other thing we looked at when we were evaluating this, is that really the only residential use immediately adjacent to this is the mobile home park to the north. Everything else is institutional or commercial or multifamily.
All right, any other questions, or can we move to a motion on this one? Ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I'm not asking, am I going to motion to deny if you guys give it to me?
Don't tempt him.
But it's, staff has agreed to this, but staff has agreed to this, but I'm just challenged by this. If someone wants to make a motion for approval, I'll be the opposition voice, but if you're asking me to do it, I'm going to be motion to deny.
Just in the spirit of the discussion,
Right.
I will say that I can lean on staff's notion that, this does meet the
Yeah.
criteria
Yeah.
on the surface, and I won't say we can, I'll say that I can rely on the fact that this is adjacent to this. This is a certain distance from that, although that walk distance, I have a
challenge.
I'm curious about, but that's fine. If it's as safe and equitable or whatever,
Yeah.
safe. I may not be able to agree with that. 10-minute community, trail and transit oriented.
Definitely.
Hey, you can play disc golf up there somewhere, pretty close, I believe. Sugar, yeah. And so, again, relying on staff's analysis, I can go there. This is for the purpose of discussion, and other commissioners, you guys either have to chime in with me or not, because I will go with the staff's analysis if that is what we have in front of us. And I do see compelling reasons for this whole equitable mobility piece is a challenge. So you guys have to tell me whether or not I'm goofy or not.
No, I think you're absolutely right. So I understand the pressure to do something in a part of Charlotte that's traditionally been neglected. And so we have an opportunity to do something new and different here. The question is this the right parcel, and is this parcel the correct distance away from where we are to implement that? I mean, as the crow flies, you're 0.41 miles from Old Concord Station to the nearest corner. That's a straight shot. So that tells me that if I'm walking down Platform and down Eastway and up Tryon and around the building, that I'm probably longer than half a mile walking. So that one gives me pause. And then as I stated, we're kind of deep into the area because we've got that frontage along Tryon where you've got businesses. And so this kind of feels like a fringy decision to me. I think it checks all the boxes, but not the ones that are important.
And to counter that again, and it's for the sake of argument though, we talk about people walking to this. TOD allows a whole, or how many uses does TOD allow? You guys had a whole page of stuff in there, right? And so many of those uses could be destination uses as opposed to origination of traffic uses. And again, we are not given a site plan here. We're asked about land use. And so if we've got those land uses there, again, I have pause about walking distance, but we've also got to consider that in the bigger picture of what are the uses that this thing could have. And some of those might be valid uses in this particular location. Again, given the, I think John said there was a daycare center right across the street.
Yeah, there's actually there's a daycare to the south and then like a early childhood
and
education center across the street.
Platform is that I was going to say big something, apartment complex. There's apartments there. So, a brewery could show up there or something. I have no earthly idea. They show up everywhere else, right? But, and then it may be a use that caters to, the folks in Hidden Valley. I don't know what those uses are, but there are other allowable uses that may be destination uses. And so I'm talking myself into being, going with the staff's analysis.
Let me, another point of support why I thought this fit. It actually, I have seen many places where TOD, especially this level of TOD is, can effectively operate as that transition space between residential and the business uses because it's likely to have business uses, but if they are, they're going to be they're going to definitely have frontage, they're definitely going to have activity at the ground level and all of that, as opposed to the more auto-centric uses that could be if it sits as B1.
Yeah.
Or B2, pardon me, B2. Oops.
Chick-fil-A.
So I felt it was an improvement in the zoning in that area. And obviously somebody's requesting this zoning. It's not like they looked at it and said, oh, if only it was something else. Whatever they're thinking is they think will work best in TOD.
And just to clarify, the TOD NC can be applied to areas within 1 mile of a transit station. So, and then we're right at a half mile of a walk distance to the old Concord station.
The motion and we will throw it out there and see what happens. This is Commissioner Walton. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-169 as it appears before us and adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
This is Gaston, and I second that motion.
Properly moved by Welton, seconded by Gaston. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are 1, 2, 3, 4 and 2. Lansdale and Harvey, who would like to lead off in the statement?
Sure. I agree with Terry's points, but the summary of it all is the safe and equitable kind of mobility piece.
I'd like to add to that my concern is that it is pushing the TOD and C a bit too far away for me, and trying to understand how this change would be beneficial to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. John, you got everything you need? Excellent. All right. Moving on to item number 27, rezoning petition 2022-170 by Canvas Residential LLC. John, back to you.
This is 11.23 acres on the southeast intersection of Oakdale Road and Mount Holly Huntersville Road, north of Interstate 45. Site is currently developed with 4 single-family homes, and it's abutting a recently approved rezoning to the, I guess it'd be northeast. Currently zoned R3, single-family residential, Lake Wiley protected area. Proposed zoning would be R8MF CD, Lake Wiley, a multifamily residential conditional Lake Wiley protected area. Basically a second phase of that rezoning or development to the northeast. The 2040 policy map recommends neighborhood 2 for the site. The proposal would be for up to 88 single-family attached dwelling units in 21 buildings. And then I won't go over all of the details that you heard at the public hearing. I guess one of the major things that they've done since the public hearing to address one of staff's outstanding issues, they have committed to provide a landscape buffer between the 2 existing public roads. I guess that would be at Mount Holly, Huntersville, and Oakdale, and the units that are along those frontages. There's no outstanding issues. Next slide. Staff recommends approval of the petition. It is consistent with the 2040 policy map recommendation for the neighborhood 2 place type. And I will take any questions.
Thank you. Questions?
Yep, I do have just kind of a process question. So this petition is literally across the street from 2022-89. And I'm wondering if we have some petitions that are in close proximity, is there a way that we can put them in close proximity on the agenda?
It would come down to the timing of when they've filed the rezonings and staff's review of those. I think I could talk to Dave about it, but one thing that might be helpful is to you all would be to have a map that just showed in general where all these rezonings in this area are occurring and maybe what time schedule they're at. But to get them on the same agenda would be a bit more problematic and tricky to deal with.
Or would I suggest, could we just like add a note that there's another rezoning within, say, half a mile?
As far as you'd walk to ride the transit.
That in the staff report, but challenge. What happened in the last year within this circle?
Yeah, we do have a map in the staff analysis that shows the recent rezonings in the area. It would only show those that are currently in process. So I don't know, you said it was 2022, 89?
Yep, Taylor Morrison.
Yeah, that one should have been on the staff analysis map, and showing as pending. Obviously we do have quite a few that are in backlog where that still haven't come up for processing that we wouldn't, we haven't even looked at yet.
I would even narrow it. Yes, man. I would even narrow it down a little bit further and say if we've got them within half a mile and they're on the same agenda, like we just noted that, hey, I know there's a map, but to Commissioner Wilton's point, it's not interactive. So if you overlook it, it could affect your decision. It could not, but it'd just be nice to say, hey, there's a pending rezoning us on this same agenda, half a mile down the road.
Oh yeah, that was the one. Yeah, I remember. Sorry, we were just pulled up. I was trying to remember which site that was at. So yeah, that was on the same agenda. You're saying, yeah, just have them noted that they're in close proximity. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Okay.
Coming up later tonight.
John, this is one of those policy map, hey, what's going on there kind of questions, because the existing zoning seems to say there's R3 all around this parcel, except for the other part of the project. But when I look at the policy map, it's neighborhood 2. It already includes this parcel in neighborhood 2 and the one across the street, but there are 3. So shouldn't they have been neighborhood 1?
I think I can't really speak for exactly what the rationale was there. I believe it would probably be the fact that it's on Oakdale Road between Mount Holly Huntersville Road and the interstate, and those parcels that have frontage on Oakdale, aren't really that appropriate for single family detached development, given the proximity, the way they're kind of basically pinned in between Mount Holly Huntersville and 45. And between those two double roundabouts. So I think that's what the community area planning folks were looking at when they decided to make a recommendation.
I will just say that we had a similar parcel off of I-85 on an exit. It was R3, it became N1, and it was like, hey, how did that happen? And I only say this as a note as we go forward, the inconsistencies on the policy map, hopefully those will all be fixed really soon, and done right the first time or something close. But it's just one of those inconsistencies that, anyway, I digress and really have a question in here. I feel like a councilman.
Thank you. You're not running for office. Any other questions on this petition, perhaps?
Can we go back to that, the map?
Commissioner Gass?
Yes, so this would be the only ingress and egress into this specific development or rezoning, but there's the connection to Bluedale that then connects out via Glen Teague, and I think also, yeah, it connects. Whoop, am I doing that? I don't think I'm doing that. No. Can you go back one more to the site, the one that showed the streets in the area? Yeah, so there's a connection to via Glen Teague that they would be able to get out to, and I don't think that connects over there, but Glen Teague, you'd be able to basically get out there. Bluedale Road, yeah. And then yeah, that comes down to Oakdale.
It's more of the same product. I was just thinking the extension of the.
I think that's a full movement intersection, but I would defer to CDOT for confirmation.
We couldn't hear your question. You could repeat it.
Go ahead.
The ingress, I'm sorry, the ingress and egress, from that development onto Oakdale, it's a left or right, so it's a full, you can go either way. Is that correct? There's no limit where you can only turn right or only turn left or
On Oakdale, you're referring to?
on Oakdale, yes.
Yeah, that'll be a right in, right out. They're installing a median there.
Okay, so it's a right in, right out, okay,
Yeah, on the.
thank you.
Right.
Anyone care to make a motion?
Any motion? I'll make a motion. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-170 as it appears before us and adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Lansdale second.
Properly moved by Welton, seconded by Lansdale. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0. Moving right on to item number 28, rezoning petition 2022-171 by Providence Group Capital. Holly, take it away.
Thank you. This site is 1.26 acres located on the east side of South Tryon Street, north of Vermont Road and south of Dunavant Street. The current zoning is TOD NC, Transit Oriented Development Neighborhood Center, and the proposed zoning is to go to TOD UC, Transit Oriented Development Urban Center. It's within a half-mile walk of the proposed Rampart Street Station, by the way, and it also has close proximity to the New Bern Station. The 2040 policy map calls for a neighborhood center. This is some of the only remaining neighborhood center in that block there. Most of it has gone to regional activity center. And going to regional activity center is really more in alignment with its general proximity to transit stations here. And it's also compatible with the neighboring policy map recommendations as well. It is a conventional TOD petition, so there is no associated site plan. There are no outstanding issues, although it is inconsistent with that neighborhood center recommendation. We find that it meets our criteria for going up to the regional activity center police type. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Questions?
It's going to be a challenge living next to a crematorium, but it's all good.
Only if you don't want to be in the crematorium.
And only early in the morning, that's what we do.
Oh,
We're going
okay.
away. Yeah.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thought you were just joking.
Yeah.
In case you need it, go down.
And abattoirs, I believe, is his favorite term. But anyway, anyone care to make a motion?
Having received the petition and reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move we recommend the approval of 2022-171 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Russell second.
Properly moved by Lansdale, seconded by Russell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes 6-0. Only two left. Three. Sorry, you're right. All right, number 29. Rezoning petition 2022-174 by Anderson Pearson. And we're back with Dave. He's available.
Thank you. This petition is in the Belmont community. It is, let me see, pull up my presentation here. It's 0.34 acres at the corner of Belmont and Siegel Avenue. It's currently zoned B1. Proposed zoning is for MUD optional. They are requesting 3-year additional year vesting, so it'd be 3 years total for vested rights. Policy map does call for neighborhood center. The proposal is for a 9,000 square foot building, 50-foot max height, different types of mainly B1 uses that would serve the community, things like small schools, piano school, small EDE, other types of uses that again would be more community serving, similar to like the B1 district or even NS district. Does prohibit uses like a gas station, oil change facility, dry cleaning, car wash, adult establishments, and an accessory drive-through window. Also does provide architectural standards within the project and does request some optional provisions that would facilitate existing tree canopy requests, facilitate ground floor commercial uses for 14-foot setbacks being requested to facilitate those ground floor uses. And since the hearing, there's a lot of changes on the next slide. A lot of those are really just note clarifications. These aren't material changes to the project itself. A lot of them are labeling and detailed notes that just had to get further clarification to match up and read what was being depicted on the site plan. There is still some outstanding items related to the tree save that we're continuing to work with the petitioner at Urban Forestry on. About retention of existing trees and some of the aspects of how we can try to accommodate what's already on site without trying to compromise some of the outcomes and getting the tree save requirements met. So we're still working through that. Feel like we'll have a good resolution prior to the decision, but I don't believe it's anything that again would materially change the uses or change the proposal overall. Would just be probably some tweaks to how we're capturing tree save area on the plan and then the notes. Staff does recommend approval of this petition. We do have that outstanding issue that we're working on with Urban Forestry to resolve prior to decision. It is consistent with the policy map recommendation, and we will take any questions you have.
Terry, go right ahead.
If you can go back one slide for me, please. Just want to take a look at these, the site triangle looks like it was resolved for me that I had a question on. Can you explain to me the bullet point about the 8-foot sidewalk? I don't know if it was on this one or the previous slide, but the 8-foot sidewalk versus a 6-foot sidewalk. I was trying to read through that. I think it was on another slide where staff recommend.
They went to try and maintain the.
Yeah, I'm certain I read it just a moment on your slide. So there it is. Combined total to help offset the difference between the 8-foot sidewalk requested and the 6-foot sidewalk proposed. Can you unwrap that language for me?
I don't know if I can. Not sure. Let's try and keep apologies for that. But maybe CDOT could address it since it does have to do with some of the 6-foot request being made. Oh, sorry, CDOT, I didn't have my mic on. If you can go ahead and see if there's any further clarification y'all can provide on that one. I'm not able to provide it.
Well, 8 feet was initially requested, and that was just based off the streets map, but that wasn't something that was a requirement. It was more of a strong request. Wider sidewalks just add a bit more comfort, especially in the area where we're trying to get to. But we were comfortable with them doing 6 because that's what they would have had to do if they came in by right anyway.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I do think this is one of those examples of we're removing, I believe this was also a brownfield site, is that correct?
That's correct. That's why they're also asking
Again,
for
removing
the
a
additional
brownfield site,
vesting.
replacing it with something that's honestly probably a community amenity as well as a good reuse of a particularly odd corner.
Yes.
Anyone like to make a motion?
Make motion. It's Commissioner Russell Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-174 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Gaston, I second.
Probably moved by Russell, seconded by Gaston. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 6-0. That passes. Moving on to item number 30. Rezoning petition 2022-178 by Dickelson Amonte Abreu. Hope I did not butcher that too bad. Michael.
Yes, thank you. This is approximately 1.39 acres located on the northeast side of Brookshire Boulevard, east or west of Old Plank Road, near Oakdale Road there. The current zoning is I1 light industrial. The proposed zoning is I2 CD general industrial conditional. The 2040 policy map calls for manufacturing and logistics. So this proposal, the site will be assessed by the existing driveway located on the adjacent parcel where the storage facility is. The site may be used for automotive sales, repair, parking, storage, warehousing, including tractor trucks and accompanying trailers. Additionally, the petitioner reserves the right to use the site for all uses allowed or permitted by right and under prescribed conditions together with accessory uses in the I2 zoning district. However, they do prohibit the following uses: abattoirs, adult care centers, agricultural industries, adult establishments, airports, animal crematoriums, cemeteries, hotels, motels, jails, and prisons, junkyards, landfills, medical waste disposal, petroleum storage, power generation plants, quarries, raceways, drag strips, sanitary landfills, solid waste transfer, truck stops, waste incinerator. So quite a list of things they've excluded. Since there is no site plan, just sort of development notes here. No changes since the public hearing. There are no outstanding issues. We do note that it is aligned with the recommended manufacturing and logistics place types and proposes similar industrial uses found along the Brookshire corridor. So staff does recommend approval of this petition. Be glad to take any questions. Thank you.
Questions? If anyone's ready, jump in.
This is Commissioner Welton. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve the petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2022-178 as it appears before us and adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Russell, second.
Thank you. Properly moved by Welton, seconded by Russell. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? 6-0, that passes. Moving on to our final show of the night. Item number 31, rezoning petition 2022-194 by RC Ventures LLC. Max, bring us home.
All right, well, I'll make this quick because I got to catch my bus. Petition 2022-194 is located at the northeast intersection of Beatties Ford Road and Gilbert Street, west of Newland Road and south of Interstate 85. The site is approximately 0.512 acres in size and currently vacant. The site is currently zoned B1 neighborhood business, a conventional zoning district, and the proposed zoning is TOD NC, transit oriented development, a neighborhood center, a conventional zoning district. The 24 policy map recommends the neighborhood 2 place type for this site. TOD NC district is inconsistent with the N2 place type. However, the petition is consistent with the neighborhood center place type located on 3 corners of Beatties Ford, Gilbert Street, Montana Drive intersection. The request is appropriate and compatible with the adjacent land uses due to a small size and the site's potential for providing additional housing types, neighborhood scale commercial access, space, access to goods and services, dining, entertainment, and designed in a walkable manner prescribed by the TOD NC district. The site is located within an 8-mile walking distance of the planned Montana Drive CityLinks Gold Line streetcar station. According to the new UDO, TOD NC districts may be applied to parcels within a quarter-mile walking distance of adopted and funded streetcar stops. However, the Gold Line Phase 3 extension is not yet funded. The site is directly served by 2 existing bus routes and within a half-mile of the Rosa Parks Community Transit Center. This is a conventional rezoning request with no associated site plan and would allow all uses permitted in the TOD NC zoning district. There are currently no outstanding issues. Staff recommends approval of this petition, and the petitioner's agent is here in case there's any questions.
Excellent. Any questions?
More of a comment, CMAX. I don't think you're going to need to be there for that, but appreciate this.
You need a ride. You need a ride, I'm there for you.
Get your bus.
Yeah, we can get, I'm riding in the convertible if you want to go with me.
We worked with the neighborhood on this parcel many years ago, and just want to say that this has been favorable conversations with this change, and I'll be moving to support this. Thank you.
Yep, and I'll just echo that. I think this is a pretty innovative decision to go to TOD, considering that you've got a light rail coming, not light rail, a trolley stop streetcar coming in. Thank you. So I think this is a good small development opportunity, and I look forward to seeing what comes of it.
I agree with my fellow commissioners, and I would point out that as active as this bus line is, I think we should consider more TOD, that aspirational TOD where it can already be supported by bus service. Any other comments, questions? I'd accept a motion.
This is Lansdale. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move and recommend the approval of petition number 2022194 and the adoption of the consistency statement as appears before us, so we can let Max go home.
Gaston, second.
Properly moved by Lansdale, seconded by Gaston. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now the only order of business that we
closed.
have is.
Second.
There you go. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
I just want to say thank you, everyone, staff and everyone who's already left.
Yes,
For
thank you,
sticking
Doc.
with us.